Hello guys, welcome to Saiyan What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Goku became the Supreme Saiyan Monarch? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, do not forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Blood of the Stars. The sky fractured like broken glass. Not a cloud in sight. Just perfect blue splitting apart, revealing something darker beyond. Son Goku stood in the field beside his modest mountain home, head tilted back, watching as the phenomenon spread across the heavens. This wasn't like the portals or rifts he'd encountered before. There was something familiar about the energy signature pulsing from within. Dad, Gohan's voice carried from the house. His teenage son appeared at his side moments later, eyes fixed on the same celestial anomaly. What is that? It doesn't feel like Boo or Cell. No, Goku agreed, his usually carefree expression replaced by something more focused. It feels like, he hesitated, searching for the right words. Like looking in a mirror. But the reflection isn't quite right. The rift widened, and from it descended a ship unlike any Earth vessel. Sleek black metal with crimson accents, bearing an emblem Goku recognized from his earliest confrontation with Vegeta, the royal crest of planet Vegeta. Saiyans, Goku whispered, his fists clenching reflexively. The ship hovered above the forest before landing, with surprising delicacy in the clearing half a mile from his home. Goku sensed multiple power levels inside, not as strong as his own or Vegeta's, but formidable nonetheless. What struck him most was their flavor, each distinctly Saiyan, yet varied in ways he couldn't articulate. Should we call the others? Gohan asked, already reaching for his phone. Goku placed a hand on his son's shoulder. Not yet, I want to understand what we're facing first. He pressed 2 fingers to his forehead. Stay here, Gohan. But Dad, Goku vanished before his son could finish, reappearing at the edge of the clearing. The ship's hull hissed as a ramp extended downward, steam curling from hydraulic mechanisms. 3 figures emerged from the mist. 2 men and a woman, each wearing armor reminiscent of what Vegeta had worn when he first arrived on Earth, but more refined, less bulky. The woman stepped forward. Her features were sharp, her black hair cropped short except for a single braid that hung over her left shoulder. A scar ran from her temple to her jaw, and her eyes, dark and calculating, fixed immediately on Goku. So, she said, her voice carrying both authority and a hint of disbelief. The rumors were true. Kakarot lives. Goku didn't correct her use of his Saiyan name. Something told him it would matter to these people. I do. The question is, how do you? Planet Vegeta was destroyed. Frieza made sure of that. The taller of the 2 men laughed, a harsh sound without humor. Frieza was thorough, but not perfect. Some of us were off-world when it happened. Others escaped the blast. We've been scattered across the stars. Hiding, surviving, searching for any trace of our kind. His gaze raked over Goku's simple Earth clothes with undisguised contempt. Though it seems not all of us remembered who we are. I know exactly who I am, Goku replied, his voice level but carrying a quiet strength that made the man take an instinctive step back. My name is Son Goku. I was raised on Earth. But I haven't forgotten my Saiyan blood. You dishonor that blood with your softness, the second man growled. Older than his companions, a network of scars crisscrossed his exposed arms. We've observed this world. You protect these weaklings instead of conquering them. You've taken a human mate. Produced half-breed offspring. Goku's eyes narrowed, the first flicker of anger stirring. Be careful how you speak of my family. The woman raised her hand, silencing her companion. We didn't cross half the galaxy to start a fight, motto. She returned her attention to Goku. I am Sarapa, commander of what remains of the Saiyan elite. These are Mato and Cress, my lieutenants. We represent the largest surviving Saiyan colony. Goku's interest peaked. How many survived? Fewer than 5,000 spread across 3 settlements, Sarapa answered. Not enough to rebuild what we lost. Not without help. Goku sensed there was more to this story than a simple reunion. Why come looking for me now? It's been decades since planet Vegeta's destruction. Sarapa exchanged glances with her companions before continuing. Because we're facing extinction. Someone is hunting down the remaining Saiyans. 3 smaller outposts have been annihilated in the past year. We intercepted communications suggesting Earth would be targeted next, because of you and Prince Vegeta. Goku's expression darkened. Who's responsible? We don't know, Kress said. The attacks leave nothing behind, not even bodies. Just emptiness, as if someone is erasing us from existence itself. There's something else, Sarapa continued. Something we discovered recently that brought us here specifically to find you. She reached into a compartment on her armor and removed a small crystalline device. When she activated it, a holographic image appeared between them, a man who bore a striking resemblance to Goku himself, though with a scar on his cheek and a harder set to his jaw. Goku's breath caught. That's Bardock, Sarapa confirmed. Your father. This message was recorded shortly before Planet Vegeta's destruction. The hologram flickered, and Bardock's voice emerged, rough, urgent, and weighed with fatigue. If anyone finds this, listen carefully. Frieza fears us because of what we might become. I've seen it. Visions of the future, a power awakening in our blood. A Saiyan will rise with the power to challenge the gods themselves, but not through the old ways of conquest and destruction. Something different, something purer. He looked directly ahead, as if he could see through time to where Goku now stood. Kakarot, my son, if by some miracle you survive and hear this, the future of our race rests with you. The true legend isn't what we thought. It's not just about power. It's about the message cut off abruptly. Silence hung in the clearing. Goku stared at the space where his father's image had been, emotions warring within him, curiosity, confusion, an unexpected ache of loss for a connection he'd never had. We believed it was nonsense, Mato said dismissively. The ravings of a low-class warrior driven mad by Frieza's betrayal. Until reports reached us, Sarapa continued, of a Saiyan on Earth who had achieved the legendary Super Saiyan form. Who had defeated Frieza, who had continued to evolve his power beyond what any of us thought possible. Her eyes held Goku's. When we learned his name was Kakarot, Bardock's lost son, we knew we had to find you. I'm not the only Super Saiyan, Goku said. Vegeta has reached that level too. So has my son, even Vegeta's son, Trunks. Kress spat on the ground. Half-breeds and a prince who lives among humans. You speak as if that's something to be proud of. Goku's patience thinned. Be careful, Kress. You haven't seen what we can do. The tension in the air thickened, but before it could escalate further, a new voice cut through the clearing, arrogant, familiar, and deeply annoyed. Kakarot, why wasn't I informed of our guests? Vegeta strode into view, wearing his typical scowl and training attire. He halted as he took in the 3 Saiyans, his expression shifting from irritation to shock. Prince Vegeta, Sarapa said, dropping immediately to one knee. Mato hesitated before following suit, while Kress remained standing, his posture rigid. Survivors, Vegeta murmured, momentarily stunned before his royal bearing reasserted itself. Rise. Explain your presence here. Goku quickly summarized what he'd learned. Vegeta's face darkened at the mention of Saiyan outposts being targeted. You should have contacted me first, he said to Sarapa. I am your prince. With respect, your highness, she responded. The prophecy mentioned Kakarot specifically. And our intelligence suggested you had adapted to Earth life. The implication hung unspoken. That Vegeta had gone soft, just as they accused Goku. The prince's eyes flashed dangerously. Watch your tongue. Why choice to remain on this planet doesn't diminish who I am. His gaze shifted to Goku. What do you make of this threat they describe? And this message from Bardock? Goku considered for a moment. If someone's targeting Saiyans, they'll come here eventually. Better to face the problem head-on than wait for an attack on Earth. He looked at Sarapa. I want to see these colonies for myself. And, Vegeta prompted. The message mentioned my father. You said you found it recently. Where exactly? Sarapa hesitated. We discovered an anomaly in space, a pocket dimension where time flows differently. Inside, we found a preservation chamber with Bardock's body. He's alive, Kakarot, but suspended in some form of stasis. Our scientists haven't been able to revive him safely. The revelation hit Goku like a physical blow. His father, alive, the man he'd never known, never thought he'd meet. The warrior who'd tried, in his final moments, to save their people from Frieza. Take me to him, Goku said, his voice firm. Kakarot, Vegeta cautioned, this could be a trap. Goku shook his head. I don't think so, but even if it is, I need to see for myself. He turned to Sarapa. When do we leave? Immediately, she answered. Time is critical. Goku nodded. Let me speak to my family first. I'll meet you at your ship. As the Saiyan delegation returned to their vessel, Vegeta stepped closer to Goku. Speaking in a low voice. Be vigilant. These Saiyans grew up under Frieza's rule. They won't share your charitable worldview. I know, Goku replied. But if there's a eat to Earth and what remains of the Saiyan race, I have to investigate. He paused. Will you come? Vegeta crossed his arms. Someone needs to remain here to protect this planet in case this is a diversion. Besides, a rare hint of vulnerability crossed his face. Bulma is working on a new project. Trunks has tournaments coming up. Goku smiled slightly. You've built a good life here. As have you, Vegeta acknowledged. Don't let them make you forget that. With a nod of understanding between them, Goku used instant transmission to return home, where Chi-Chi and Gohan waited anxiously. Explaining the situation proved every bit as difficult as he'd anticipated. Absolutely not. Chi-Chi's voice rose sharply. You can't just fly off into space on the word of Saiyans we don't know. What about your responsibilities here? What about your family? Goku took her hands in his touch gentle despite the immense strength in his fingers. Chi-Chi, you know I wouldn't go if it wasn't important. These could be the last of my people, and they're in danger. And my father, a man you never knew. She countered, but her voice caught on the words. She understood, despite her protests, what this meant to him. I'll be careful, Goku promised. And I won't be gone long. Gohan had remained silent throughout the exchange, but now he spoke. I think you should go, Dad. If someone's targeting Saiyans, we need to know who and why before they come here. His voice carried the maturity he'd gained through his own battles. Mom and I will be fine. I can protect Earth alongside Vegeta if needed. Chi-Chi's resistance crumbled at her son's reasoned support. Fine, she sighed, but you come back to us, son Goku. Do you understand? No sacrificing yourself this time. Goku pulled her into an embrace. I promise. After gathering a few essentials and saying his goodbyes, Goku returned to the Saiyan ship. Inside, he found technology far more advanced than he'd expected. The Reviving Saiyans had clearly continued to evolve their capabilities during their decades in exile. Sarapa led him to the command center, where a small crew operated the vessel. We'll enter hyperspace momentarily, she explained. The journey to our primary colony would normally take months, but this ship incorporates technology we appropriated from several advanced civilizations. Stole, you mean? Goku said without judgment. Her eyes flashed. We did what was necessary to survive. Not all of us had the luxury of finding a peaceful world to call home. Before Goku could respond, the ship hummed with building energy, and stars outside the viewscreen elongated into streaks of light as they entered hyperspace. It will take 3 days to reach the colony, Sarapa informed him. I'll show you to your quarters. As they walked the corridors, Goku noted other Saiyans watching him with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. Their key signatures felt familiar yet strange. The same base energy he'd always sensed in Vegeta and himself, but with subtle variations he couldn't quite place. They don't trust me, he observed. Sarapa glanced at a young Saiyan who quickly averted his gaze as they passed. You're a legend and an outsider simultaneously. The stories of your battles reached us even in our isolation. Some worship you as the fulfillment of the Super Saiyan prophecy. Others resent you for abandoning Saiyan ways. I never abandoned anything, Goku replied. I simply found my own path. A path that made you strong enough to defeat Frieza, she acknowledged. That counts for something, even among the traditionalists. His quarters were Spartan but comfortable, a sleeping chamber, training area, and small food preparation unit. As Sarapa turned to leave, Goku called after her. What was he like? My father. She paused in the doorway. Bardock was complicated, a brilliant warrior, but often at odds with Saiyan authority. He questioned things others accepted without thought. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. In that way, perhaps you are more his son than you realize. Left alone, Goku sat cross-legged on the floor, centering himself. 3 days in space with a ship full of Saiyans who viewed him as either savior or traitor. A father preserved in stasis. An unknown enemy hunting down his race. And according to Bardock's message, a destiny he hadn't anticipated. He closed his eyes and began to meditate, preparing himself for whatever lay ahead. The 3 days passed in a blur of training, uncomfortable meals in the ship's Mon area, where conversations would halt whenever he entered, and long discussions with Sarapa about the surviving Saiyan colonies. He learned that after planet Vegeta's destruction, the survivors had initially scattered, living as mercenaries or hiding on remote worlds. Gradually, they began to reconnect, establishing small outposts in distant sectors of the galaxy. The largest colony is on Zenora, Sarapa explained on the final day of their journey. A harsh world with triple Earth's gravity and extreme climate variations. Perfect for maintaining our strength. How many live there? Goku asked. About 3,000. Mostly warriors, but we've developed other roles out of necessity. Scientists, engineers, even artists of a sort, though they focus on preserving our history rather than what you'd consider creative expression. Quote, Goku raised an eyebrow. Saiyan scientists. Vegeta always implied that Saiyans focused solely on combat. Sarapa's expression hardened. When your entire civilization is reduced to a few thousand survivors, adaptation becomes essential. We couldn't rely on other races to provide technology and resources as we once did. So we evolved. Her eyes met his. Just as you have, in your own way. The ship dropped out of hyperspace with a shudder, and the view screen filled with the image of a planet, mostly red and brown, with small patches of deep blue oceans and white-capped mountain ranges. Zenora, Sarapa announced, our home for the past 15 years. As they began their descent, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. The pilot's voice came, sharp over the communications system. Commander, we're detecting energy signatures in orbit, the same pattern as the previous attacks. Sarapa's face drained of color. How many? 3 vessels, closing fast. Their weapons are charging. Quote, Goku stepped forward. Let me handle this. These aren't opponents you can punch. Kakarot, Crest snapped, rushing onto the bridge. Their technology can disintegrate matter at the molecular level. That's how they've been destroying our outposts, by erasing them from existence. Then we need to strike first, Goku said. He placed 2 fingers to his forehead. I'll be right back. Before anyone could object, he vanished, using instant transmission to teleport directly to the nearest enemy ship. He appeared in what seemed to be a control room, surrounded by beings unlike any he'd encountered before. Humanoid in basic shape, but with skin that shifted colors like oil on water and eyes that held no pupils, just swirling vortices of energy. They reacted to his appearance with startling quickness, raising weapons that pulsed with the same void-like energy Cress had described. Goku didn't hesitate. He flashed into Super Saiyan form, his golden aura filling the chamber as he moved with blinding speed. Within seconds, the weapons were destroyed, their wielders unconscious but alive. Goku accessed the ship's controls, examining the technology with curiosity. The instruments were labeled in a language he didn't recognize, but the design was intuitive enough for him to identify the weapon systems and disable them. He repeated this process on the other 2 vessels before returning to Sarapa's ship, where the crew stared at him in astonishment. What did you do? Mato demanded. Disabled their weapons and knocked out the crews, Goku replied. They won't be erasing any more Saiyan colonies today. You should have killed them, Crest growled. They would not have shown us the same mercy. Goku's eyes, still teal from his Super Saiyan transformation, fixed on the older Saiyan. That's the difference between them and me. He powered down, his hair returning to its normal black. I never kill unless there's no other choice. Sari, Pa studied him with an unreadable expression. You moved faster than our sensors could track. Is that the Super Saiyan form we've heard about? One version of it, Goku confirmed. There are levels beyond that. The implications of his casual statement rippled through the bridge crew, whispers and shocked glances exchanged between them. We should continue to the colony, Goku suggested. And bring one of those ships with us. I want to know who sent them and why they're targeting Saiyans. Sarapa nodded sharply. Agreed. Mato, prepare a boarding party for the primary vessel. Cress, continue our descent. As they approached the planet's surface, Goku got his first glimpse of the Saiyan colony, a settlement built into the side of a massive mountain range, structures of dark metal and stone blending with the natural landscape in a way that made them difficult to distinguish from orbit. Clearly designed for defense and concealment rather than comfort or aesthetics. They landed on a platform jutting from the mountainside, where a welcoming party awaited, 24 Saiyans in armor similar to Serapa's, standing at attention. At their center stood a figure who immediately captured Goku's attention, a woman with wild, untamed hair streaming down her back like black fire, armor that appeared cobbled together from different sources, and a defiant posture that set her apart from the disciplined warriors surrounding her. As Goku descended the ramp beside Serapa, he felt the woman's ki, fierce, unrefined, but startlingly powerful. Their eyes met across the platform, and she smiled, not in welcome, but in challenge. "So this is the legendary Kakarot," she called out, her voice carrying notes of both mockery and genuine interest. "Doesn't look like much to me." Serapa stiffened. "Show respect, Zuka. You stand before the Super Saiyan of prophecy." Zuka laughed, a wild, unrestrained sound. "I'll believe in prophecies when they put food in my belly and power in my fists." She sauntered forward, circling Goku with predatory grace. "Though I admit, he has an interesting energy signature. Different from other Saiyans." Goku remained relaxed under her scrutiny. "You're not like the others either," he observed. "Your ki flows differently, less controlled, but more adaptive." Her eyebrows rose in surprise. "You can sense that. Interesting." She stopped her circling, standing directly before him. "I lead the free bands, Saiyans who reject the rigid hierarchy Serapa's group clings to. We live in the mountains, hunting, training our own way. Fighting among ourselves helps no one," Serapa said tersely. "Especially now, with these attacks. Speaking of which," Zuka continued, her expression growing serious, 3 more of my people disappeared yesterday while scouting the northern ranges. No bodies, no trace, just gone. Like the outpost attacks you reported." Goku frowned. "The enemy is already here." Serapa nodded grimly. "We need to convene the council immediately. And," she hesitated, glancing at Goku, "you should see your father first." They proceeded into the mountain colony, a network of tunnels and chambers carved into the living rock, reinforced with metal and illuminated by artificial lighting that mimicked natural daylight. Saiyans of all ages stopped to stare as Goku passed. Children with tails wrapped around their waists pointed and whispered. Adults either saluted with fists over hearts or deliberately turned away. "Not everyone will welcome your presence," Serapa warned in a low voice. "Some fear change. And what about you?" Goku asked. "Do you fear change?" She considered the question seriously. "I fear extinction more. If change is required for survival, then I'll embrace it, reluctantly, perhaps, but completely." The Y descended deeper into the mountain until they reached a secure area marked with symbols Goku recognized as warnings in the Saiyan language. Guards stepped aside at Serapa's command, and a massive door slid open to reveal a laboratory unlike anything he expected to find in a Saiyan colony. Advanced equipment hummed with energy. Screens displayed data in multiple languages. And at the center of it stood a preservation chamber, a cylindrical tank filled with pale blue liquid, inside which floated a man who could have been Goku's twin if not for the scar across his cheek in the battle hard. Ned features visible even in suspended animation. Bardock, his father. Goku approached the chamber slowly, placing a hand against the transparent surface. The connection he felt was immediate and found. Not just the recognition of shared blood, but something deeper, as if some part of him had always known this moment would come. "His life signs are stable," said a new voice. Goku turned to say, "A woman in a lab coat rather than armor, her hair pulled back severely, a device similar to Vegeta's old scouter over one eye. I'm Vasara, chief scientist of the colony. Half Saiyan, before you asked. My mother was from Techo's prime." Goku nodded in greeting. "Can he be awakened?" Vasara adjusted her device, which projected data into her field of vision. "That's the question that's consumed my team for months. His physical body is intact, but his consciousness is elsewhere. Our scans detect brain activity consistent with intense dreaming or visions. The same visions that led to his message about Kakarot." Serapa asked. "Possibly," Vasara confirmed. We've tried conventional revival methods, but his mind resists returning to full consciousness. She studied Goku thoughtfully. Your presence might change that equation. There's a resonance between your energy signature and his, subtle, but detectable. What do you need me to do? Goku asked without hesitation. Vasara gestured to a platform beside the chamber. Stand there. I want to attempt a synchronized ki infusion, using your energy to stabilize his during revival. Goku took his position, and Vasara attached sensors to his temples and chest. This won't hurt, she assured him, but it might feel strange. I need you to power up gradually, not to Super Saiyan level, just enough to generate a stable energy field. Nodding, Goku closed his eyes and focused, letting his ki rise slowly, deliberately. He felt the machinery around him responding, channeling his energy into the preservation chamber where his father floated, suspended between life and death. It's working, Vasara murmured, her voice tight with concentration. His neural patterns are synchronizing with yours. Cellular regeneration accelerating. Beginning fluid drain sequence. The blue liquid receded from the chamber, and Bardock's body lowered gently until his feet touched the bottom. As the last of the fluid drained away, the chamber opened with a hiss of escaping pressure. For a moment, nothing happened. Bardock remained motionless, eyes closed, supported by the structure of the chamber itself. Then his chest expanded in a sudden, desperate intake of breath. And his eyes snapped open, dark, intense, and immediately focusing on Goku. Kakarot, he gasped, his voice rough from disuse. You came. Before Goku could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Serapa's communicator crackled with an urgent message. Commander. The enemy ships. They've self-destructed, releasing some kind of energy pulse. Sensors detecting multiple, spatial anomalies forming throughout the colony. Evacuate the lower levels, Serapa ordered. Activate Defense Protocol Zenith. The laboratory doors burst open as Zuka appeared, breathing hard. They're here, the Shadow Warriors. Appearing out of nowhere, taking our people. As if summoned by her words, the air in the laboratory rippled, tearing open to reveal swirling vortices of darkness. From these portals emerged the same beings Goku had encountered on the ships, their skin shifting colors, their eyes like miniature black holes. The Void Collective, Bardock growled, struggling to stand upright. They've found us. Goku moved instinctively, placing himself between the intruders and the others. Get my father to safety, he commanded. I'll handle this. The attackers raised their hands, and streams of energy that seemed to devour light itself shot toward them. Goku countered with a ki shout, the force of his ki creating a barrier that deflected the attacks. But more portals were opening. More enemies emerging. Vasara activated emergency protocols, and a shield of energy surrounded Bardock's chamber as it began to move through a panel in the wall. Serapa drew a weep. On that channeled her own ki into concentrated bursts, while Zuka lunged at the nearest attacker with reckless abandon, her fighting style wild and unpredictable. Goku assessed the situation in an instant. These enemies weren't particularly strong by his standards, but their ability to create portals and their strange energy made them dangerous. He needed to end this quickly. With a flash of golden light, he transformed into Super Saiyan, the surge of power sending ripples through the laboratory. The void beings recoiled momentarily, then redoubled their assault, their attacks now focused entirely on him. Goku moved with fluid precision, each motion economical yet devastating. He didn't need his most powerful techniques for these opponents, just perfect execution. A sweep of his arm created a wind pressure that slammed 3 attackers into a wall. A precisely aimed energy beam disabled a portal generator one enemy was operating. A blur of movement put him behind 2 others, where a light chop to the neck rendered them unconscious. Zuka stared in open amazement as she grappled with an opponent. By the ancient stars, she breathed. The legends were true. Serapa was more focused on the tactical situation. They're targeting the preservation chamber. Protect Bardock. Indeed, a group of the void beings had broken away, pursuing the retreating chamber through the opening in the wall. Goku vanished and reappeared in their path, hands cupped at his side. Ha! Me! Ha! Me! The blue energy built between his palms, carefully calibrated, enough power to neutralize THE threat without causing structural damage to the facility. Ha! The beam swept across the attackers, the force precisely controlled to incapacitate rather than kill. They crumpled to the ground, strange shifting of their skin slowing to a barely perceptible ripple. We need to secure the entire colony, Goku said, returning to Sarapa. These were just the advance force. She nodded sharply. Zuka, gather your free bands. We'll need every fighter. She activated her communicator. All defense teams to battle stations. This is not a drill. As they moved through the facility toward the command center, Goku noticed something odd about the fallen attackers. Their bodies were beginning to dissolve, breaking down into particles that swirled like mist before disappearing entirely. They're not dying, he observed. They're being recalled somewhere, or someone is retrieving them, Vasara suggested, hurrying alongside them. She'd stayed behind to secure critical data from the lab. The energy signature is consistent with dimensional translocation. They reached the command center, a large circular chamber with view screens showing different sections of the colony and the surrounding terrain. Reports were coming in from all sides. Attacks in the residential quarters, the training arenas, the outer defense perimeters. The pattern was always the same: portals opening, void beings emerging, attempting to capture Saiyans rather than kill them. They're not here to exterminate us, Sarapa realized. They're harvesting us. But why? Zuka demanded. What do they want with Saiyans specifically? Our power, came a voice from the doorway. Bardock stood there, supported by two medical attendants, his body weak but his eyes burning with clarity. The Void Collective exists between dimensions. They feed on energy, and Saiyan life force is the most potent they've found. They're farming us, have been for decades. Goku crossed to his father, offering his strength. Bardo, CK hesitated before accepting the support, leaning against his son with a nod of grudging thanks. How do you know this? Goku asked. Because I've been trapped in their dimension, Bardock replied. Not physically, but my consciousness. The preservation chamber was a double-edged sword. It saved my body but left my mind vulnerable. They've been feeding on my energy, sifting through my memories. That's how they found the colonies. His expression darkened with shame. I led them right to us. Not by choice, Goku said firmly. And now you're going to help us stop them. A tactical officer approached, his expression grim. Commander, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in orbit. Something's coming through, something big. The main view screen shifted to show the space above Zenora. A tier was forming in the fabric of reality itself, larger than any they'd seen before. From within it emerged a vessel that dwarfed the colony ships, its surface rippling with the same oil-slick appearance as the void being's skin. Their mothership, Vasara whispered. The source of the dimensional rifts. Bardock straightened, pushing away from his supporters. There's only one way to end this. The mothership must be destroyed, not just damaged, but completely obliterated. No trace can remain, or they'll regenerate. Our weapons can't penetrate their dimensional shields, Sarapa said. We've tried in previous encounters. Goku's expression grew determined. Mine can. He turned to his father. Tell me everything you know about their weaknesses. As Bardock shared his knowledge, gained through his mental connection with the void, a plan took shape. The mothership generated the portals but required tremendous energy to maintain them across dimensions. During a massive portal creation, like the one currently underway, its defenses would be temporarily vulnerable. I'll teleport directly to the ship, Goku decided. Find its power core, and destroy it. Not alone, Zuka declared. I'm coming with you. My people have suffered too much at their hands. And I, Sarapa added. As commander of the colony's forces, this is my responsibility. Bardock shook his head. The Void Collective exists partially outside normal space-time. Conventional attacks won't work. It will take a power beyond what any of us have individually. Then we'll fight together, Goku said. You, me, and anyone else who can contribute their energy. Vasara stepped forward. I've been developing a technology based on my research into Saiyan genetic potential, a way to temporarily synchronize and amplify multiple key signatures. She activated her device, projecting a schematic. It's experimental, but it might allow you to channel combined energy from multiple Saiyans for a coordinated strike. How many can it link? Goku asked. Theoretically, all of us. Vasara's eyes gleamed with scientific passion. The entire colony, contributing their energy to a single point, to you. The implications were staggering. Thousands of Saiyans, their power flowing into one vessel. Goku considered it carefully. Such power would be immense, potentially unstable, dangerous to the user. But if it meant saving not only the colony but preventing further harvesting of Saiyan life force. How quickly can you prepare this technology? He asked. The prototype is ready, Vasara replied. But I've never tested it on this scale. Bardock placed a hand on Goku's shoulder, the first voluntary contact between father and son. This is what my visions showed. This moment, this choice. His eyes, so similar to Goku's own, held a mixture of pride and concern. The power will be beyond imagination. It could transform you in ways we can't predict. I've been transformed before, Goku said with a slight smile. Super Saiyan God. Each time, I've remained myself at the core. This will be different, Bardock warned. This won't be just your power evolved. This will be the essence of our entire race flowing through you. It could awaken something dormant in our bloodline, the true potential of the Saiyans that Frieza feared. Alarms blared again as more portals opened throughout the colony. They were running out of time. Prepare your device, Goku instructed Vasara. Sarapa, Zuka, gather as many of your people as you can in the central chamber. Everyone who can contribute energy. He turned to his father. You and I will be the primary conduits. Your connection to the void might be the key to breaching their defenses. As the others rushed to execute the plan, Bardock remained, studying his son with new eyes. You're not what I expected, he admitted. When I sent you to Earth as an infant, it was an act of desperation. I never imagined that I'd grow up to be me. Goku finished with a genuine smile. Earth shaped me, but the core of what I am comes from you and Mother. I've always fought to protect what matters, just as you tried to protect planet Vegeta from Frieza. And failed, Bardock said bitterly. But not this time, Goku replied, his confidence absolute. This time, we fight together. The central chamber of the colony had been designed for gatherings, a vast space carved from the mountain's heart, capable of holding thousands. Now it filled with Saiyans from every level of the colony, elite warriors standing alongside engineers, scientists. Even children old enough to control their ki. In the center, Vasara and her team established a circular platform where Goku and Bardock would stand. Around it, concentric rings were marked on the floor, organizing the energy contributors by power level, the strongest nearest the center, radiating outward. The principle is simple, Vasara explained as she attached specialized conductors to Goku and Bardock. Each Saiyan will channel their energy not outward as in an attack, but inward, toward you two. The amplifiers will synchronize and stabilize the flow, preventing feedback or burnout. And then, Sarapa asked from her position in the first ring. Then Kakarot and Bardock will teleport to the mothership and release the combined power directly into its core, Vasara replied. In theory, the dimensional resonance between Bardock's consciousness, which has been exposed to the void, and their technology should create a cascade failure. Zuka, also positioned in the first ring, crossed her arms skeptically. That's a lot of theory and not much certainty. Welcome to science on the edge of extinction, Vasara retorted. Goku closed his eyes, centering himself. Around him, he could feel the ki of hundreds. Then thousands of Saiyans, each signature unique, yet sharing that fundamental Saiyan quality he'd always recognized in himself. Wild, proud, powerful. But there was something more too, determination. Concern for their comrades, a fierce protectiveness of their new home and people. These weren't the ruthless planet purgers Vegeta had described from their past. These were survivors who had learned to value what remained of their civilization. Everyone, focus your energy inward, Bardock commanded, his voice carrying throughout the chamber. Don't force it, let it flow naturally toward the center. Goku felt the first tendrils of energy reaching him, hesitant at first, then more confident. Streams of ki flowing from all directions, merging with his own. Beside him, Bardock experienced the same. Their energies intertwining, father and son becoming conduits for the power of their race. The sensation was unlike anything Goku had felt before. When he'd first achieved Super Saiyan, the transformation had been born of rage and need. Super Saiyan God had been a ritual, a power borrowed from others but still fundamentally separate. This This was communion. Thousands of individual wills temporarily united, their energy flowing not just into him but through him, changing him even as he directed it. His hair began to rise, fluctuating between black and gold, then shifting through other colors, deep red, brilliant blue, and finally settling on a silvery white that seemed to contain traces of all colors simultaneously. His aura expanded, no longer just golden flames but a complex, swirling pattern of energy that reflected the contributions of every Saiyan present. Bardock underwent a similar transformation, though less pronounced, his connection to the collective energy serving more as a channel than a vessel. Together, father and son became living conduits of Saiyan power, their bodies barely containing the energy surging through them. Now, Visara said, her voice strained as she monitored the process. Before the connection becomes unstable, Goku placed a hand on his father's shoulder and raised two fingers to his forehead with the other. He focused on the mothership in orbit, sensing its strange dimensional energy, finding the point where reality and void intersected. They vanished from the chamber, reappearing instantly in the heart of the enemy vessel, a cavernous space filled with technology unlike anything Goku had encountered. Crystalline structures pulsed with dark energy. Void beings moved about in patterns that seemed random at first glance but revealed a complex purpose when observed as a whole. And at the center, a singularity, a tear in space-time that served as both power source and gateway to the Void Collective's home dimension. Their arrival did not go unnoticed. Alarms sounded in an alien frequency that vibrated through their bodies. Void beings converged from all directions, their weapons charging with erasure energy. The core, Bardock gasped, the strain of containing so much power evident in his voice. There, he pointed to the singularity, where streams of energy were being siphoned into collection devices. Devices Goku now recognized were filled with a familiar golden energy. Saiyan life force, he realized. They're storing it to feed their dimension, Bardock confirmed. Without it, their reality collapses. A blast of void energy struck them, only to dissipate harmlessly against the aura of combined Saiyan power surrounding them. Goku turned to face the attackers, dozens now. Their weapons focused entirely on the intruders. We need to release the energy directly into the singularity, Bardock said. It will reverse the flow, causing their dimension to implode rather than expand. Goku nodded, understanding the plan intuitively through their shared connection. Together, they began to move toward the core, each step requiring immense concentration as they contained the power of thousands within their bodies. The void beings redoubled their assault, now bringing larger weapons to bear, cannons that fired beams of pure nothingness, capable of erasing matter from existence. But the Saiyan aura adapted, creating a shield that the erasure energy couldn't penetrate. As they neared the singularity, resistance increased. The ship itself seemed to respond to their presence. The very structure of the chamber shifting to create barriers. Gravity intensified 100-fold, then reversed, then fluctuated wildly. They're manipulating dimensional constants, Bardock warned. Trying to disrupt our physical forms. Goku pushed forward through sheer will, drawing on the collective determination of the colony flowing through him. Each step became a battle, each a victory against forces trying to unravel their very existence. Finally, they stood before the singularity, a swirling vortex of darkness that somehow contained light, a paradox made manifest. Around it, the collected Saiyan energy pulsed in containment fields, ready to be consumed. Now, Kakarot, Bardock said, his body beginning to flicker as the strain took its toll. Together, father and son raised their hands toward the singularity, palms outward, and released the built-up energy in a controlled stream. The power flowed from them in a beam of silvery white light that contained the essence of every Saiyan in the colony, their strength, their pride, their will to survive. When it struck the singularity, reality itself seemed to pause, as if the universe were holding its breath. Then the vortex began to change, its swirling pattern reversing direction. The stored Saiyan energy in the containment field shuddered, then burst free, joining the stream flowing into the singularity. The void beings cried out in a frequency that transcended normal sound, a psychic wail of alarm and fear. They rushed toward the singularity as if to physically prevent what was happening, only to be caught in the growing maelstrom of energy. It's working, Bardock shouted over the dimensional distortion building around them. The flow is reversing. Their dimension is collapsing. The mothership began to break apart. Sections of it being pulled into the singularity as the artificial connection between dimensions destabilized. Void beings dissolved into particles, drawn back to their home. Irreality by forces they could no longer control. We need to get out, Goku realized. The entire ship is being pulled in. He reached for his father, preparing to teleport them back to the colony, but Bardock stepped away. His expression resolute. I can't leave, son, he said, his voice somehow clear despite the chaos around them. My consciousness is still partially linked to their dimension. If I leave now, the connection might not fully collapse. He placed a hand on Goku's chest, transferring the last of his shared energy. Take it, return to our people, lead them. I won't leave you, Goku insisted. There must be another way. Bardock smiled. A genuine expression that transformed his battle-hardened face into something Goku recognized from his own reflection. My visions showed me this moment too. Not just your coming, but my purpose. He pushed Goku back as the singularity expanded. I was preserved for this, to help you save our race one last time. The ship's structure was failing completely now. Chunks of alien technology vanishing into the growing void. Goku felt himself being pulled toward it as well, the dimensional forces recognizing the Saiyan energy he still contained. Go, Bardock commanded, his body beginning to glow as he channeled his remaining power into creating a barrier between Goku and the singularity. Live, Kakarot, led our people toward a future worthy of them. A future worthy of you. With a final surge of power, Bardock pushed his son beyond the immediate pull of the collapsing dimension. Goku, tears streaming down his face, placed his fingers to his forehead and teleported away, carrying his father's last gift and the responsibility it represented. He reappeared in the central chamber, where thousands of exhausted Saiyans were recovering from the energy donation. Their faces turned to him in unison, expressions changing from fatigue to awe as they beheld his transformed state, hair still shimmering with silver-white light, body surrounded by an aura that contained traces of their combined power. The mothership, Sarapa asked, stepping forward. Destroyed, Goku confirmed. The void dimension is collapsing. They won't threaten us again. He looked around at the gathered Saiyans. But the victory came at a price. Bardock, my father, stayed behind to ensure the dimensional rift closed completely. A murmur ran through the crowd. Shock, respect, grief. Even those who had never met Bardock understood the significance of his sacrifice. The last of the old guard, giving his life so that the Saiyan race might continue. He believed in a future for our people, Goku continued, his voice gaining strength. Not as conquerors, but as a force for change in the universe. He saw that future through me, through all of us. Sarapa and Zuka exchanged glances, then approached Goku. Despite their differences, the shared experience of contributing their energy to the victory had created a bond between them. The prophecy, Sarapa said quietly. A Saiyan who would transcend and lead. It wasn't just about power, was it? No, Goku agreed. It was about finding a new way forward. He looked down at his transformed state, feeling the remnants of thousands of Saiyan energies still flowing through him, connecting him to them in ways he'd never experienced before. I'm not the same person I was when I arrived. And neither are any of you. What happens now? Zuka asked, her usual bravado subdued by the magnitude of what they'd experienced. Goku considered the question seriously. He'd come seeking answers out his father and the threat to the Saiyan race. He'd found both, but also something unexpected, a people in need of direction. A civilization at a crossroads. Now, he said, we rebuild. Not just structures, but purpose. The Void Collective is defeated, but there will be other threats. The universe is vast, and our numbers are few. Are you suggesting we return to conquering worlds? Kress demanded, pushing his way forward. Rebuilding the Saiyan Empire? No, Goku replied firmly. That path led to fear, to Frieza, to near extinction. I'm suggesting we become protectors rather than conquerors. Guardians of worlds that cannot defend themselves. Using our strength to preserve life rather than extinguish it. Murmurs ran through the crowd, some supportive, others skeptical or outright opposed. Centuries of Saiyan culture couldn't be changed in a moment, even one as profound as this. Sarapa studied Goku thoughtfully. You're proposing we become what, exactly? Mercenaries for good. I'm proposing we become what Saiyans were meant to be, Goku answered. Warriors with purpose. Fighters with honor. A people respected not for the fear we inspire, but for the justice we uphold. Vasara approached, her scientific instruments still monitoring Goku's transformed state. Your energy signature has stabilized in this new form, she reported. The collective power has changed you on a fundamental level. You've become something unprecedented. The Supreme Saiyan, someone whispered from the crowd, and the phrase was repeated, spreading through the gathered warriors. Zuka crossed her arms, her expression thoughtful. If we're to follow this new path, we'll need a leader. Someone who understands both strength and mercy. Her eyes met Goku's. Someone who has proven they can channel the power of our entire race without being corrupted by it. Are you suggesting Kakarot become our king? Cress scoffed. An earth-raised outsider. No, Sarapa replied. Not a king. Kings rule by birthright alone. She knelt before Goku, placing a fist over her heart in the traditional Saiyan salute. A monarch. One who leads by proving themselves worthy, again and again. Zuka hesitated only briefly before kneeling as well. The Supreme Saiyan Monarch, she declared. Who carries the power and will of our people? One by one, others followed. First Vasara and her scientists, then the elite warriors. Then the free bands. Even Cress, after a long moment of internal struggle, bent his knee, though his expression remained guarded. Goku looked out at them. These survivors Ho had endured the destruction of their homeworld, decades of hiding, and now an existential threat from beyond dimensions. They needed something he'd never sought, leadership, purpose, a vision for the future. His transformed state began to fade, the silver-white aura receding as his hair returned to its normal black. But something remained, a connection to each person in the chamber, a sense of their energy, their emotions, their potential. The experience had changed him in ways he was only beginning to understand. I accept this responsibility, Goku said finally. Not as your ruler, but as your guide toward a new destiny for our race. The path won't be easy. Many will resist, but together, we can become something neither Frieza nor the Void Collective could imagine, Saiyans who fight for life rather than death. He extended his hand, palm upward, and summoned a small sphere of energy, not destructive, but pure, containing the essence of his vision for their future. The sphere expanded slowly, bathing the chamber in warm light that touched every person present. This is my pledge to you, Goku continued. To lead not through force, but through example. To help each of you find the true warrior spirit that lies within. To build a civilization that honors our strength while embracing wisdom. The sphere dissolved into countless particles of light that spread throughout the chamber, touching each Saiyan present, a symbolic sharing of his vision, a connection forged in the aftermath of battle. And as the light faded, a new era began, for Goku, for the surviving Saiyans, and for a universe that had no idea how profoundly things were about to change. The Supreme Saiyan Monarch, Sarapa proclaimed, rising to her feet. Long may he lead. The phrase was echoed by thousands of voices, reverberating through the mountain colony and beyond. A declaration of purpose and hope from a people who had nearly been erased from existence. Goku closed his eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility settling upon him. But there was something else too, a sense of rightness, of finding a path he hadn't known he was seeking. Earth would always be his home, his family there always in his heart. But these people, his people, needed him now. And Son Goku, the Earth-raised Saiyan who had become the most powerful warrior in the universe, would not turn away from those in need. Never had, never would. The journey was just beginning. Chapter 2. Throne of Warriors. 3 moons hung in perfect alignment above the rust-colored horizon. Their combined gravitational pull created tidal forces in the atmosphere itself, visible ripples of condensation that flowed like spectral rivers across the twilight sky. Below, on a vast plateau carved from living stone, Goku stood alone, feeling planet's unique gravity fluctuate with the lunar convergence. In these precious moments, when all 3 moons aligned, the gravity intensified tenfold, creating perfect conditions for the most demanding training. He didn't fight against the crushing pressure. Instead, he surrendered to it, letting his body adapt as he moved through the ancient Saiyan combat forms Sarapa had taught him. Each sta NCE flowed into the next with deliberate precision, nothing like his usual improvisational style. There was power in these traditional movements, a connection to something older than Frieza's corruption of Saiyan culture. "You're getting better," observed Zuka, materializing from the shadows at the plateau's edge. Unlike Serapa's rigid military bearing, Zuka moved like a predator, all coiled energy and unpredictable grace. "Still too controlled, though. You're thinking when you should be feeling." Goku completed the form before acknowledging her. "These movements have survived thousands of years for a reason. There's wisdom in them. And stubbornness," she countered, approaching with her characteristic swagger. Today she wore lighter armor than usual, adapted to the higher gravity. The moonlight caught the network of scars across her exposed shoulders, badges of honor in her nomadic warrior band. "Our ancestors created those forms when we were half as strong as we are now. They're foundations, not limitations." She demonstrated by flowing into the same sequence Goku had performed, but with subtle variations, wilder, more aggressive, yet undeniably effective. Her ki flickered visibly around her limbs, emphasizing strikes that would have been lethal against any ordinary opponent. Goku watched with genuine interest. "You've modified them to channel ki more efficiently." "Of course." She finished with a flourish entirely of her own invention, a spinning kick that generated a spiral of energy around her body. "Why preserve a technique if you're not going to improve it? That's the difference between tradition and stagnation." Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of a small shuttle, descending through the atmospheric ripples with calculated precision. It bore the insignia of the scientific division, Vasara's domain. "Your lab director has terrible timing," Zuka muttered. "She's just as dedicated to her work as you are to your training," Goku replied, hiding a smile at the flash of jealousy in Zuka's eyes. The dynamic between the two women, the untamed warrior and the analytical scientist, had evolved into a complex rivalry since his coronation 3 months ago. The shuttle landed at a respectful distance, and Vasara emerged, her customary lab coat replaced by field gear designed for the plateau's conditions. The device over her eye, more sophisticated than the old Frieza Force Scouters, constantly analyzed and displayed data about her surroundings. "Supreme Monarch," she greeted formally, though the slight upward curve of her lips betrayed a more personal connection. "I apologize for interrupting your training session, but my team has made a breakthrough that couldn't wait until morning." "It's just Goku when we're not in council chambers," he reminded her gently. Of course, Goku. His name still felt foreign on her tongue, an intimacy she was gradually growing comfortable with. "We've completed the analysis of your cellular structure following the Void Collective incident. The results are unprecedented." Zuka made a show of stretching, her lithe muscles rippling under the intensified gravity. "Should I leave you two to your science talk?" "Actually," Vasara replied, surprising both of them, "this concerns you as well, Zuka. Your genetic profile is part of our comparative study." That caught the warrior woman's attention. "You've been studying my genetics?" "Without permission. From samples freely given during routine medical examinations," Vasara clarified. "All warriors' data is analyzed for the betterment of our race. It's colony protocol, and one we might want to reconsider," Goku interjected diplomatically. "Everyone should have a choice about how their information is used." He turned his attention back to Vasara. "What have you discovered?" Vasara activated a holographic display from her wrist device. 3 DNA helixes appeared, rotating slowly in the air between them. "This is standard Saiyan DNA," she explained, indicating the first model. "And this," she continued, highlighting the second, "is yours, before the void energy infusion." The structures were similar but with subtle variations. "The third," she said, her voice taking on an almost reverent quality, "is your current genetic structure." The third helix was dramatically different, more complex, with additional structures woven through the standard genetic pattern. Sections glowed with unusual energy signatures that pulsed in rhythm with Goku's heartbeat. "Your DNA has incorporated aspects of the collective Saiyan energy," Vasara explained. "It's evolving, adapting, integrating the potential of thousands." Zuka stepped closer, fascinated despite her distrust of scientific methods. "Is that why he can still sense all of us?" "The connection never fully broke." "Precisely," Vasara confirmed. "But it's more than a passive connection. His genetic structure is actively processing and incorporating beneficial mutations from across the entire Saiyan genome. Theoretically, given time, he could spontaneously develop abilities previously seen only in specific Saiyan bloodlines. Goku absorbed this information thoughtfully. He'd noticed changes since the transformation: increased sensitivity to others' ki, occasional flashes of insight that felt borrowed from other minds, dreams filled with memories that weren't his own. "Is it dangerous?" he asked. Vasara's expression grew more serious. "Not immediately, but there are concerning implications. Your body is handling the integration remarkably well, but there's evidence of increasing complexity at an accelerating rate. If it continues unchecked, spit it out," Zuka demanded. "His cellular structure could become too complex for physical stability," Vasara said bluntly. "In layman's terms, he could literally evolve beyond his body's ability to maintain cohesion." The gravity of her words settled heavily between them, made more profound by the act. Gravity pressing down from the three-moon convergence. "How long?" Goku asked quietly. "Unknown," Vasara admitted. "It could stabilize naturally, or," she hesitated, "or I could essentially dissolve into pure energy." Goku finished for her. He'd faced death before, but this was different. Not a warrior's end, but a transformation into something beyond physical form. "What can we do?" "My team has developed a theoretical solution," Vasara said, activating another holographic display. This one showed a structure, circular, massive, covered in ancient Saiyan symbols. A key regulation charm, beer based on artifacts discovered in the northern mountains. The ancients apparently faced similar issues with energy stabilization. Zuka's eyes widened in recognition. "You found Saiyan ruins here." "Extensive ones," Vasara confirmed. "Dating back approximately 10,000 years, far older than any previously known Saiyan settlement. They suggest our ancestors inhabited this world long before planet Vegeta." Goku looked up at the three moons, seeing them with new eyes. "That's why this planet felt right. Why the council agreed so quickly when I suggested making it our new home." "Some part of us remembered." "Perhaps," Vasara acknowledged. "The ruins contain technology far more advanced than what we developed on planet Vegeta. As if our civilization reached a peak, then regressed." Their discussion was interrupted by a communication alert from Goku's wristband. Serapa's voice came through clearly. "Supreme Monarch, the diplomatic delegation has returned from the Caldari system. Ambassador Kori requests an immediate audience. She claims to have critical intelligence regarding our security." "Tell her I'll be there shortly," Goku replied. He turned to Vasara. "Continue your research. If this regulation chamber can be built, make it your highest priority." "Already underway," she assured him. "The basic structure will be complete within 2 weeks." Zuka rolled her eyes. "While you two worry about genetic stability and ancient technology, I'll focus on more immediate concerns, like making sure our warriors can actually protect this planet." She gestured to the training grounds visible in the distance, where hundreds of Saiyans drilled in formation. "They're still thinking like Frieza's soldiers, all brute force, no adaptability." "That's why your perspective is valuable to me," Goku said sincerely. "You understand how to fight beyond traditional limitations." A hint of color touched Zuka's cheeks at the compliment, a rare sight that Vasara noted with scientific interest. The wild warrior wasn't accustomed to praise delivered without ulterior motive. "Just don't die from genetic overload before my trainees are ready to impress you," Zuka muttered, recovering her typical abrasive manner. "It would be inconvenient." Goku smiled at the sentiment hidden beneath her harsh words. "I'll do my best." The central complex of the new Saiyan capital rose from the planet's surface like a natural extension of the landscape, buildings of dark stone and metal that honored both function and aesthetics. Unlike the purely utilitarian structures of planet Vegeta under Frieza's influence, these incorporated elements of Earth design that Goku had suggested: open spaces, gardens, areas for both community and solitude. The Grand Hall, where diplomatic functions took place, featured a massive circular skylight that allowed the three moons' illumination to fill the space. The walls bore carvings depicting Saiyan history, not just conquests, but scientific achievements, artistic expressions, and moments of sacrifice, a new cultural narrative taking shape under Goku's guidance. As he entered, the assembled council members and military officers rose in unified respect. a gesture he still found uncomfortable despite 3 months in his role as Supreme Monarch. "Please, sit," he urged. "We're here to work together, not stand on ceremony." Sarapa, now his formal commander of defense, nodded approvingly. She'd embraced Goku's more egalitarian leadership style after initial skepticism, finding that it actually improved unit cohesion and initiative among her forces. Beside her stood a figure who immediately captured Goku's attention. Tall, elegant, with skin the color of polished blue ice and eyes that shimmered like faceted diamonds. Ambassador Cory of He-Glacian Confederacy represented a species that had once rivaled Frieza's race in both power and influence. Unlike the tyrant, however, the Glacians had chosen diplomacy over conquest whenever possible. "Supreme Monarch," Cory greeted, her voice melodic yet precise. "Thank you for receiving me so promptly after my return. Your missions have consistently yielded valuable results," Goku replied with genuine respect. "What have you discovered?" Cory activated the central display table, and a holographic map of their sector of the galaxy materialized. "My delegation successfully established contact with the Saiyan outpost in the Caldari system. 73 survivors, mostly scientists and their families who were conducting atmospheric research when planet Vegeta was destroyed." Murmu, RS of satisfaction rippled through the council. Every Saiyan found alive was a victory against extinction. "They've agreed to relocate here within the month," Cory continued. "But that's not the primary reason I requested this audience." Her expression grew more serious as she manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on a particular region. "During our return journey, we detected unusual activity in the Nexus Corridor." The Nexus Corridor, a dense cluster of stars and spatial anomalies that served as a major trade route through this sector. Controlling it meant controlling commerce and movement across dozens of systems. "Define unusual," Sarapa prompted. Cory's slender blue fingers danced across the controls, bringing up sensor readings. "Ships matching known profiles of remnant Frieza Force vessels. But they're not operating under typical Imperial protocols. They're coordinating with pirate bands." This revelation caused immediate concern. The remnants of Frieza's once IGHTY empire had splintered after his death, with most commanders establishing their own mini-fiefdoms. If they were now working with pirates instead of hunting them, something had changed. "Do we know which commander?" asked Kress, who had reluctantly accepted a position as tactical advisor despite his ongoing skepticism of Goku's leadership. "Based on vessel configuration and movement patterns, we believe it's General Sorbet." Cory replied. "He was never among the strongest of Frieza's officers, but he's perhaps the most cunning." Goku studied the tactical display thoughtfully. "They're positioning themselves along our most direct route to the remaining Saiyan outposts." "It's not coincidence." "Agreed," Sarapa said. "They're specifically targeting our unification efforts. The question is why? What does Sorbet gain by preventing Saiyan reunification?" "Information," Cory suggested. "On isolated outposts, Saiyans might be more willing to share intelligence about our new power structure, our defenses, our..." She glanced at Goku. "Unique leadership. Or they simply fear what we might become if fully united," Kress added. "The Saiyan race was always Frieza's greatest concern, even when we served him. Now, with a Super Saiyan as our leader and no cold empire to keep us in check. We've made no aggressive moves," Goku pointed out. "I've been explicit about our defensive posture." "Words mean little in galactic politics," Cory replied diplomatically. "Actions define perception, and the mere existence of a unified Saiyan nation, led by the warrior who defeated Frieza, creates anxiety among those who remember the old empire." Goku absorbed this perspective. On Earth, intentions and honest communication carried weight. Here, in the wider galaxy, centuries of conflict had bred deep suspicion. Trust would need to be earned through consistent actions, not just declarations. "We need to secure safe passage for the remaining outposts," he decided. "Not through force unless absolutely necessary, but by establishing our legitimate right to free movement. The Galactic Trade Commission might recognize transit rights for population relocation," Cory suggested. "As ambassador, I could present our case at their next conclave." "Do it," Goku agreed. "But we'll also prepare for less diplomatic solutions if necessary." He turned to Sarapa. "Begin training Exarch. Is specifically designed for escort operations. I want our fastest ships and most experienced pilots ready to move on short notice. Sarapa nodded sharply, already identifying candidates. Supreme Monarch. The meeting continued with discussions of resource allocation, defense perimeter expansion, and integration protocols for newly arriving Saiyans. Throughout, Goku found himself drawn to Corey's insightful contributions. Unlike most Saiyans, who approached problems directly, the Glacian ambassador considered subtle implications, hidden motivations, and long-term consequences. When the council session concluded, Goku requested Corey remain behind. The Glacian ambassador stood beside the holographic display, her posture perfect, hands clasped before her. "Your diplomatic skills are invaluable," Goku said once they were alone. "I'm curious why you chose to represent your people here, with us." The Glacian Confederacy has historically kept its distance from Saiyan affairs. Corey's Cr. Eastaline eyes studied him with calm assessment. History changes when the right variables are introduced. She gestured to him. "You are such a variable, Supreme Monarch." "Goku," he corrected gently. "When it's just us." A smile touched her azure lips, subtle, controlled, yet genuine. "Very well, Goku. My government sent me because I specifically requested this assignment. Your emergence as I am leader represents a potential inflection point in galactic stability. Some see threat, I see opportunity." "For what?" "Balance," she replied simply. "For too long, power has concentrated in he hands of beings like Frieza, those who view strength solely as a means of domination. You possess perhaps greater strength, yet wield it differently. This interests me." Her candor was refreshing. After months of political maneuvering from various factions. "And your personal interest?" Goku asked, sensing there was more. Corey's composure slipped momentarily, revealing something warmer beneath her diplomatic exterior. "You are unlike anyone I've encountered in my considerable diplomatic career. A warrior with a philosopher's heart. A leader who questions his own authority even as he exercises it." She stepped closer, the temperature around her noticeably cooler, a natural aspect of her physiology. "I find myself curious about the man behind the legend." The moment between them lingered, charged with unspoken possibility, until Sarapa's voice came through the communication system. "Supreme Monarch, Vasara requests your presence at the northern excavation site. She claims they've discovered something you need to see immediately." Goku acknowledged the message before turning back to Corey. "Duty calls, it seems." "Always does," she agreed with practiced grace. "But perhaps we might continue this conversation over the traditional Glacian frost tea ceremony. My people believe shared rituals reveal more truth than formal negotiations." "I'd like that," Goku replied sincerely. As they parted ways, he reflected on how differently his life had unfolded than he could have ever imagined. On Earth, he'd been a warrior, a husband, a father, roles defined by his choices and circumstances. Here, as Supreme Monarch, he found himself at the center of political, military, and now apparently personal complications he'd never anticipated. Chi-Chi's face flashed in his mind, a pang of memory and affection. Their marriage had been unconventional by Earth standards, begun in innocence and maintained through loyalty despite his frequent absences. She had understood his Saiyan nature better than he had himself sometimes, accepting that his drive to protect and improve would take him away from her. Now, that separation had become potentially permanent. He'd sent messages back to Earth, explaining the situation, promising to return when he could, but aware that his responsibilities might prevent that for longer than he'd initially believed. The northern excavation site SPR AW led across a valley flanked by jagged mountains. What had begun as a small archaeological curiosity had expanded into a massive operation as more ancient Saiyan structures were uncovered. Workers ved carefully around partially excavated buildings, while scanning equipment hovered overhead, creating detailed three-dimensional maps of what lay beneath the surface. Vasara met Goku at the site's perimeter, excitement evident in her typically composed features. "We've found the central temple," she announced without preamble, "and something inside that, well, you need to see it yourself." She led him through the dig site, past teams of Saiyan scientists who paused in their work to acknowledge their monarch. Goku noted how different these scholars appeared from the warriors he'd known on Earth, not less physically capable. but with an intellectual focus that Vegeta had never mentioned as part of their culture. These ruins are rewriting our understanding of Saiyan history, Vasara explained as they walked. The civilization that built these structures was vastly more advanced than what we became under Frieza, or even before him, based on our oldest records. How is that possible? Goku asked. How could we forget our own achievements? That's the question that keeps me awake at night, she replied. Civilizations don't typically regress without catastrophic cause. They approached what appeared to be a modest dome structure partially embedded in the hillside. Unlike the other ruins, this building remained largely intact, its surface covered in intricate glyphs that say made to shift subtly when viewed from different angles. The temple was sealed until this morning, Vasara said. We detected energy readings similar to your transformed state after the Void incident. When we finally gained access, she trailed off, gesturing for him to see for himself. The entrance was a simple archway that required Goku to duck slightly. Inside, the space expanded dramatically, a vast circular chamber that seemed larger than physically possible given the external dimensions. The walls curved upward to form a perfect dome, covered entirely in the same shifting glyphs. At his center stood a raised platform with a single object upon it, a crystalline orb approximately 1 meter in diameter, pulsing with soft white light. It recognized your energy signature, Vasara said quietly. When we brought samples from your medical examination, the seals deactivated immediately. Goku approached the orb cautiously, feeling a strange resonance with the energy it emitted. What is it? We believe it's some form of recording device, Vasara replied. But it's not responding to standard activation protocols. It seems to be waiting for something specific. Almost instinctively, Goku reached out toward the orb. The moment his fingers made contact, the chamber transformed around them. The glyphs on the walls illuminated in sequence, creating waves of light that flowed toward the center. The orb itself brightened intensely, then projected a three-dimensional image that filled the space, a Saiyan man in ornate armor unlike anything from recorded history. Greetings, successor. The figure spoke in ancient Saiyan language that Goku somehow understood perfectly. If you receive this message, the Ascension Protocol has finally activated after millennia of dormancy. Who is he? Goku whispered. According to the glyphs we've translated, his name was Sarada, Vasara replied, her voice hushed with awe. He appears to have been a Saiyan monarch from this early civilization period. The projection continued. Our civilization reached its zenith when we discovered the true nature of our potential, that the power we called ki is not merely energy, but consciousness itself given form. We learned to share this energy, to commune through it, to evolve beyond the limitations of individual strength. Images appeared around them, Saiyans performing feats of power and precision that surpassed even what Goku had witnessed among the Z fighters. Not just destructive capability, but creation, healing, transformation of matter itself. But with this evolution came division, Sarada continued, his expression growing solemn. Those who embraced communion believed our destiny was to transcend physical form entirely. Others feared such transcendence would mean the end of Saiyan identity, our passion, our pride, our essential nature as warriors. The projection showed conflict, civil war between factions, devastating battles that reshaped the planet's surface. Quote, I sought middle ground, to maintain our physical form while embracing expanded consciousness. But extremists among the transcendents attempted to force evolution upon all Saiyans simultaneously. The resulting energy cascade nearly destroyed our species entirely. Scenes of catastrophic energy storms ravaged the landscape, Saiyan bodies dissolving into pure light or collapsing in on themselves. To save what remained, I used the regulation chamber to absorb and contain the excess evolutionary energy. Those who survived had their genetic potential locked, their memories of our true capabilities suppressed. We became less than we were, but we survived. The image of Sarada stepped forward, seeming to look directly at Goku. If you're receiving this message, successor, you have somehow activated the dormant potential within our bloodline. You stand at the same crossroads we once faced. The regulation chamber still exists beneath this temple. Use it wisely, not to suppress our potential entirely as I was forced to do, but to channel it responsibly. The projection flickered, then stabilized for a final message. Remember this truth that we forgot. a Saiyan's greatest strength lies not in individual power, but in the bonds between us. Our ki is meant to be shared, to flow between us like knowledge, like wisdom, like love. With those words, the projection faded, and the orb's light dimmed to a gentle pulse once more. Silence filled the chamber as Goku and Visara absorbed what they'd witnessed, an origin story utterly different from what they'd believed about their race. "This changes everything," Visara finally whispered. "We weren't always conquerors. We were something far greater. And something potentially dangerous," Goku added thoughtfully. "Power that led to our own downfall. But you've already demonstrated the middle path Sarada sought," Visara pointed out. "During the Void incident, you channeled our collective energy without losing yourself in it." "Barely," Goku admitted. "And according to your research, the process is continuing to change me." He placed his hand on the orb again, feeling the ancient energy respond to his touch. "We need to find this regulation chamber. Not just for me, but for all of us." Visara nodded in agreement. "I'll assemble our best teams immediately." The discovery at the temple site quickly became known throughout the colony. Despite attempts to manage the information, rumors spread, embellished with each telling, tales of godlike ancestors, of power beyond imagination, of destiny reclaimed. The impact on morale manifested in unexpected ways. Some Saiyans trained with renewed purpose, believing they might unlock their suppressed potential. Others grew anxious, fearing change to their established identity. Most simply incorporated the new information into their evolving understanding of what it meant to be Saiyan in this new era. 2 weeks after the discovery, Goku implemented a plan he'd been considering since his earliest days as Supreme Monarch, a tournament to establish a new elite guard. Unlike the brutal competitions of Planet Vegeta, this event would emphasize skill, adaptability, and honor alongside raw power. Participants would demonstrate not just their combat abilities, but their judgment, teamwork, and restraint. The tournament grounds spread across a natural amphitheater outside the capital, a bowl-shaped valley where spectators could observe from terraced stone seating. At the center, a massive platform of polished black stone provided the main combat arena, while surrounding areas featured specialized challenge zones. "This is unnecessary pageantry," Cress grumbled as he took his place in the royal observation box beside Goku. "The strongest warriors should simply be chosen through combat efficiency ratings." "There's more to being an elite guard than efficiency," Goku replied calmly. "I need warriors who can think independently, who understand when not to fight as well as when to engage." Zuka, seated on Goku's other side, snorted in amusement. "You're wasting your breath. Cress still thinks being Saiyan means having the biggest energy blast." She leaned forward, eyes bright with anticipation. "My free bands will dominate this tournament. We've been incorporating those earth training methods you showed us, the weighted clothing, the focused ki control exercises. Old-school military formations can't compete with adaptability." Sarapa, who had overheard as she approached, raised an eyebrow. "Is that a wager, Nomad? My elite units have been combining traditional discipline with new tactical applications. Your wild fighters won't know what hit them." The friendly rivalry between the military commander and the nomadic leader had evolved into something resembling grudging respect. Their different approaches to Saiyan warrior culture created a productive tension that Goku deliberately cultivated. "Save the competition for the arena," he suggested with good humor. "I'm more interested in what unexpected talents might emerge today." As if on cue, Cory arrived, her crystalline skin catching the sunlight as she took her assigned seat. She wore reformal Glacian attire, flowing robes of pale blue that somehow managed to appear both elegant and practical. "Ambassador," Goku greeted warmly. "I'm pleased you could attend. This tournament represents an important evolution in our approach to selecting leadership." "I wouldn't miss it," Cory replied. "The manner in which a society chooses its defenders reveals much about its values." Her eyes surveyed the gathered Saiyans with analytical interest. "Though I notice the participants are exclusively full-blooded Saiyans. A deliberate choice, an oversight I intend to address," Goku acknowledged. "Future tournaments will welcome half-Saiyans and even non-Saiyans who wish to serve. For this first event, I wanted to focus on establishing new traditions within familiar frameworks." "Diplomatic as always," Cory observed with a small smile. "You've learned much in 3 months." Their conversation was interrupted as Visara arrived, looking uncharacteristically flustered. She leaned in close to Goku, speaking quietly but urgently. The excavation team has located the regulation chamber. It's exactly as Sarada described, but there's a complication. The chamber appears to be active, as if it's been used recently. Quote, before Goku could respond, ceremonial horns announced the tournament's commencement. Sarapa rose to deliver the opening address, leaving Goku to whisper back to Visara, recently. How is that possible? Unknown, she replied, but the energy signature matches yours after the transformation. Someone with access to that same power has interfaced with the chamber within the past month. The implications sent a chill through Goku despite the warm day. If someone else had accessed the ancient Saiyan power, why hadn't they revealed themselves? What were their intentions? His concerns were temporarily set aside as the tournament began in earnest. The first rounds featured traditional combat, warriors testing their strength, speed, and technique against one another. Goku watched attentively, noting how different Saiyan fighting styles had become across the scattered colonies. Some focused on power moves reminiscent of planet Vegeta's military will. Others had developed more specialized approaches based on the environments where they'd survived. As the tournament progressed, the challenges became more complex. Competitors faced scenarios requiring problem-solving, energy conservation, and ethical decision-making. Some of the strongest fighters were eliminated when they resorted to brute force in situations that required restraint. By mid-afternoon, clear frontrunners had emerged, a mix of Sarapa's disciplined soldiers and Zuka's adaptable nomads, with a few independents whose unique styles caught Goku's attention. The final phase will require them to demonstrate leadership by forming teams and completing a complex mission simulation. As Goku observed the proceedings, he became aware of a subtle disturbance in the key flows around the tournament grounds. Something, or someone, was attempting to mask their presence. Years of honed battle instincts alerted him to danger moments before it manifested. With lightning reflexes, he stood and raised his hand, creating an energy barrier around the royal box just as a beam of concentrated ki struck from a distant ridge. The attack dissipated against his shield, but its purpose had never been lethal, rather. It served as a signal. Throughout the tournament grounds, disguised individuals activated devices that generated localized energy disruption fields. Saiyans throughout the air, suddenly found their ki control hampered, their techniques failing mid-execution. Assassination attempt, Sarapa concluded instantly, her tactical mind assessing the situation. Multi-vector approach. The tournament was too tempting a target with so many of our leaders gathered. Goku remained calm, extending his senses beyond the visual spectrum. 3 primary attackers on the North Ridge, support teams at East and West access points. And, he frowned, detecting something unexpected, some kind of temporal distortion device activating near the central platform. Time manipulation technology. Visara's scientific interest peaked despite the danger. That's beyond any current known capability except for the Void Collective, Goku finished grimly. Or someone with access to their technology. Despite the energy disruption affecting most Saiyans, Goku remained unaffected, his transformed physiology operating on principles the attackers hadn't accounted for. With methodical precision, he identified the disruption generators and neutralized them one by one using pinpoint energy projections. As the Saiyans regained their ki control, Sarapa and Zuka coordinated a defensive response. The very warriors who had been competing moments before now working in seamless unison against a common threat. Protect the civilians, Goku instructed. I'll handle the primary attackers. Using instant transmission, he teleported directly to the North Ridge, where 3 figures in advanced armor waited. Their helmets concealed their identities, but their fighting stances revealed training beyond typical mercenaries. You've chosen the wrong target, Goku stated simply. The central figure laughed, a mechanical sound filtered through their helmet. On the contrary, Supreme Monarch, you were precisely the right target. Your elimination will return the Saiyan race to its proper path, conquest, not cooperation. They attacked in perfect synchronization, movements suggesting extensive knowledge of Saiyan combat techniques combined with technology that enhanced their natural abilities. Energy blades extended from their gauntlets, designed to cut through key defenses. Goku Rime, Ned perfectly still until the last possible moment, then moved with such speed that he seemed to blur. His counterattack wasn't about power, but precision, targeting connection points in their armor, disrupting power flows, neutralizing their advantages systematically. Within moments, all three attackers were disabled, their enhanced armor reduced to non-functional components. Goku removed the helmet from the leader, revealing a face that caused him to step back in shock. "Paragus," he whispered. The older Saiyan glared up at him with undisguised hatred. "You recognize me? I'm flattered, usurper. You're Broly's father," Goku said, recalling Vegeta's accounts of the legendary Saiyan and his manipulative parent. "You were believed dead. Many of us were believed dead," Paragus spat, "while we watched from the shadows as our race was reduced to servitude, then near extinction. And now, when we should be rebuilding our empire, conquering worlds as is our birthright, you led us toward, what? Coexistence. Protection of weaker species." His laugh was bitter, broken. "You're worse than Frieza. At least he only destroyed our bodies. You're destroying our very identity. The entity you cling to was never truly ours," Goku replied calmly. "It was imposed on us, first by our own fear after the great catastrophe, then by Frieza's manipulation." "Lies." Paragus struggled against his restraints. "Ancient fairy tales to justify weakness." "Where is Broly?" Goku asked, suddenly concerned about the infinitely more dangerous son. Paragus's expression shifted to one of calculated malice. "Closer than you think. And unlike me, he cannot be so easily defeated." Before Goku could extract more information, an explosion rocked the tournament grounds. He teleported back immediately to find chaos. A massive energy vortex had formed above the central platform, creating gravitational distortions that pulled spectators and competitors toward it. At the vortex's edge stood a figure Goku instantly recognized despite never having met him in this timeline: Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, his power palpable even at a distance. But something was wrong. Broly's eyes were vacant, his movements mechanical. The device around his neck wasn't the control collar Paragus had once used, but something more sinister, technology with the same shifting quality as Void Collective artifacts. "They're using him," Goku realized aloud, controlling his power. Kori appeared at his side, her typical diplomatic composure replaced by focused combat readiness. "The temporal distortion is expanding. If it reaches critical mass, it could create a permanent rupture in space-time. Can you generate cold energy?" Goku asked, forming a plan. "Absolute zero." The Glacian ambassador nodded. "It's our species' natural ability. But even at maximum output, I can't match his power level." "You don't need to," Goku assured her. "Just create a focused stream when I give the signal." He reached out through the connection he shared with the colony's Saiyans, a wordless call for energy, not taken, but freely given. The response was immediate. Warriors who moments before had been fighting the remaining assassins now directed a portion of their ki toward him, creating visible streams of energy that flowed across the tournament grounds. Unlike during the Void incident, Goku carefully modulated the input, taking only what was necessary, maintaining perfect control. His form shifted subtly, hair rising, flickering with silvery light, body surrounded by an aura containing traces of thousands of individual contributions. Broly registered the power increase and turned his attention to Goku. The device on his neck pulsed, directing his actions. With a roar that shook the valley, the legendary Saiyan charged. His own aura a sickly green tinged with void-like darkness. Their collision created a shockwave that carved a new crater in the tournament grounds. Raw power against shared energy. A contest that would have destroyed the planet if Goku hadn't been carefully directing the force upward, away from the surface. "He's not in control of himself," Goku called out between exchanges of devastating blows. "The device is similar to Void Collective technology, but modified. Someone's channeling his power into the temporal distortion." Vasara, monitoring from a safe distance, confirmed his assessment. "The vortex is approaching critical stability. If it fully forms, it could create a permanent time-space anomaly." Goku realized he couldn't defeat Broly through conventional not without causing catastrophic damage and potentially killing a Saiyan who was as much victim as threat. Instead, he changed tactics, focusing on defense and positioning rather than offense. "Kori, now," he shouted as he maneuvered Brawly directly beneath the vortex's center. The Glacian ambassador raised both hands, channeling her species' innate cryokinetic abilities. A beam of pure cold, energy at its absolute lowest state, struck the control device on Brawly's neck with pinpoint accuracy. The sudden temperature extreme caused the device to malfunction, its surface cracking as the shifting material froze solid. Brawly faltered, momentarily confused as the external control wavered. Goku seized the opportunity, teleporting directly to Brawly and placing his palm against the damaged device. With surgical precision, he channeled a thin stream of ki through the cracks, disrupting its internal mechanisms without harming Brawly himself. The device shattered, releasing its hold on the legendary Saiyan. Brawly collapsed, his power level plummeting as consciousness left him. Above, the temporal vortex began to destabilize without its power source. "It's collapsing in on itself," Vasara warned. The resulting implosion could still cause significant damage. Thinking quickly, Goku gathered the remaining shared energy around himself, creating a containment field. Using instant transmission, he teleported directly into the center of the vortex, his aura expanding to encompass the collapsing anomaly. For a moment, he vanished from perception entirely, not just visibly, but his ki-s signature disappeared completely from the sensory awareness of everyone present. A heartbeat of absolute silence fell across the tournament grounds. Then, with a sound like thunder compressed into a single clap, he reappeared. The temporal energy completely neutralized. He descended slowly to the ground, his borrowed energy dissipating as he returned it to its contributors. The assassination attempt had been foiled. But questions remained. Who had provided Paragus with Void Collective technology? How had they gained control of Brawly? And most concerning, was this connected to the recently used regulation chamber? In the aftermath, as medical teams attended to the injured and security forces secured the captured assassins, Goku convened an emergency council meeting in a protected chamber beneath the capital. This was coordinated with the pirate activity ambassador Cory reported, Sarapa concluded after reviewing the preliminary evidence. The timing is too precise to be coincidental. Agreed, Goku said, but there's a deeper connection we're missing. Paragus couldn't have accessed this level of technology independently, and he certainly couldn't have modified Void Collective devices to control Brawly. Someone is moving against us from the shadows, Kress observed, for once in complete agreement with Goku's assessment. Using traditional Saiyan resentment as cover for something else. Cory, who had earned a new level of respect among the Saiyan leadership through her actions during the crisis, offered her analysis. The attempt to create a permanent temporal anomaly suggests a goal beyond mere assassination. Perhaps they sought to isolate this colony in a pocket of altered time, removing you from the larger galactic stage without directly killing you. Which imp lies they fear your influence beyond our borders, Zuka added, unusually thoughtful. Your reputation as Frieza's destroyer makes you a symbol. Killing you might create a martyr, removing you from the timeline altogether is neater. Vasara, who had been analyzing data from the attack, looked up from her device with concern. The energy signature from the temporal vortex matches what we found in the regulation chamber. Whoever accessed it recently is connected to this attack. The implications settled heavily on the council. Someone had discovered the ancient Saiyan technology, understood its significance, and was now working to prevent Goku from accessing the same power, or perhaps to ensure they alone controlled it. We need to secure the regulation chamber immediately, Goku decided, and establish a permanent guard at the temple site. What about Brawly? Sarapa asked. He remains unconscious, but when he wakes, I'll speak with him personally, Goku replied. His power is extraordinary, even by Super Saiyan standards. If he can be reached, helped to control his abilities, he could be a valuable ally. And if he can't be reasoned with? Kress pressed. Goku's expression remained calm but determined. Then I'll do what's necessary to protect our people. But I believe he's as much a victim in this as anyone. The control device wasn't just directing his actions, it was causing him pain. I felt it when I destroyed it. The council continued late into the night, establishing new security protocols and planning their response to what was clearly a multifaceted threat. Despite the attempted assassination, Goku insisted the tournament be completed the following day. We won't be intimidated, he stated firmly. And we still need an elite guard, perhaps now more than ever. As the council dispersed, Corey lingered, her crystalline eyes studying Goku with newfound interest. You handled yourself impressively today, she observed. Not just your power, but your restraint. You could have killed Broly, killed the assassins, it would have been justified. Yet you chose a more difficult path. Taking life should never be the first option, Goku replied. Samut, thing I learned on Earth that seems to have been forgotten in Saiyan culture. Not forgotten, came Zuka's voice as she approached, having overheard. Suppressed, like so much of our true heritage. The wild warrior's typical abrasiveness had softened slightly. What you did today with our shared energy, it felt right. Natural, even, like remembering something I never knew I'd forgotten. Vasara joined them, adding her scientific perspective. The ancient records suggest energy sharing was once common practice among Saiyans, not just in crisis, but as a form of communion. A way to strengthen bonds between warriors, families, communities, and perhaps, Corey suggested with diplomatic care, between potential mates. A moment of awkward silence followed her observation. The unspoken real ity of their situation hung in the air. Goku, raised with Earth's monogamous traditions, now leading a species with very different cultural practices, particularly regarding relationships between exceptional warriors and compatible partners. I should check on the regulation chamber excavation, Vasara said suddenly, making a tactical retreat. And I need to review security footage from the attack, Zuka added, following suit. Though not before giving Corey an appraising glance that carried both challenge and curiosity. Left alone with the Glacian ambassador, Goku found himself in unfamiliar territory. Battle strategies, energy manipulation, even galactic politics, these he had learned to navigate. Personal relationships of this nature were something else entirely. I've made you uncomfortable, Corey observed. My apologies. I sometimes forget that despite your Saiyan physiology, your formative culture was Earth's. It's not discomfort, Goku clarified. Just adjustment. Everything here is different from what I knew. My responsibilities, my role, the expectations placed on me, including expectations regarding continuation of your lineage, Corey noted perceptively. With so few Saiyans remaining, there must be pressure to ensure genetic diversity in the next generation. Particularly from someone with your extraordinary adaptations. Goku hadn't actually considered this aspect of his position, focused as he'd been on immediate threats and establishing security. But Corey was right, there were unspoken expectations gathering around him, complicated by his unique status and power. On Earth, I have a wife, he said simply, a son, a family I care for deeply. I know, Corey replied with genuine empathy. Your loyalty honors you. But your current reality is complex. You are simultaneously Goku of Earth and the Supreme Saiyan Monarch, two identities with different obligations, different cultural frameworks. She moved closer, the temperature dropping subtly around her, not threatening, but a reminder of her own alien nature. I offer neither pressure nor judgment, merely observation. You stand at a crossroads of cultures, of traditions, of possible futures. Whatever path you choose will shape not just your life, but the development of this reborn civilization. Her insight cut to the heart of the tensions he'd felt since accepting leadership. Earth remained his home in spirit, but his responsibility to the surviving Saiyans couldn't be ignored. They needed him, not just his strength, but his vision for a different kind of Saiyan society. One step at a time, Goku said finally. First we secure the regulation chamber, complete the tournament, and identify who's behind these attacks. Personal considerations can wait, Corey smiled, a genuine expression that softened her crystalline features. Practical priorities, a diplomatic answer worthy of your position. She moved toward the exit, pausing briefly. But remember, Supreme Monarch, Life Dosen. T always allow us to address challenges in sequence. Sometimes they arrive simultaneously, demanding integrated solutions rather than ordered responses. With that profound observation, she departed, leaving Goku to consider implications that extended far beyond security threats or ancient technology. The following day, the tournament resumed with heightened security but undiminished enthusiasm. If anything, the attack had galvanized the participants, transforming what had been friendly competition into a demonstration of Saiyan resilience. The final rounds revealed exceptional talents, Rears who combined traditional Saiyan power with innovative techniques, strategic thinking, and the ability to work cooperatively. By sunset, 12 finalists stood before Goku on the restored central platform, representing a cross-section of the colony's military and nomadic factions. "You've all demonstrated the qualities I value most," Goku addressed them. "Not just strength, but wisdom. Not just individual power, but the ability to combine your efforts toward greater purpose." He surveyed the 12 warriors thoughtfully. In the old empire, only the strongest would have been recognized. "Today, I acknowledge each of you for your unique contributions." One by one, he named them to the newly formed elite guard, explaining the specific qualities that had earned them the position. The Lections balanced Serapa's disciplined soldiers with Zuka's adaptive fighters, creating a unit that represented the best of both approaches to Saiyan warrior culture. As the ceremony concluded, Goku felt a familiar energy signature approaching, controlled but immense. Broly, now conscious and apparently calm, approached the platform with cautious steps. The tournament crowd fell silent, many reacting instinctively for weapons or preparing combat stances. Goku raised his hand, signaling them to stand down. "Broly," he acknowledged, "I'm glad to see you've recovered." The legendary Saiyan stopped at a respectful distance. His powerful frame tense but his manner subdued. "They told me what happened. What they made me do." His voice was unexpectedly gentle for someone of his size and power. "I remember fragments. Fighting you. The pain from the control device. Then, freedom. Your father used you as a weapon," Goku said, not unkindly. "As he apparently has before." Broly's expression darkened momentarily, then cleared. "All my life. But that device was different. Colder. More complete in its control." He looked directly at Goku, genuine emotion in his eyes. "You could have killed me. Should have, maybe. But you didn't. Because you weren't the enemy," Goku replied simply. "Just another victim." The larger Saiyans seemed to struggle with this concept, mercy based not on weakness but on principle. "What happens to me now? I'm dangerous. Always have been. My power. It's not like yours. It's not always under my control." Goku considered the question carefully, aware that his answer would set a precedent for how his leadership handled complex cases like Broly's. "That can change," he said finally. "Your power isn't a curse unless you allow it to be. With proper training, with understanding of its source, you can learn control." "You believe that?" Broly asked, skepticism evident. "I know it," Goku replied with absolute confidence. "I've seen warriors transform their limitations into strengths. Enemies become allies. Destruction become creation." He gestured to the 12 elite guard members. "Join them. Not as a warrior yet, but as a student. Learn what your father never taught you, that true strength comes from mastery of self, not just power over others." A murmur ran through the crowd, surprise, concern, curiosity. Broly himself seemed stunned by the offer, having expected punishment or exile rather than inclusion. "I accept," he said finally, bowing his head slightly, perhaps the first voluntary show of respect he'd ever made. As Broly took his place among the elite guard, apart yet included, powerful yet humbled, Goku felt a shift in the energy of the gathering. This moment, more than any speech or policy, demonstrated the new direction he envisioned for Saiyan society: redemption over retribution, potential over prejudice, growth over stagnation. The tournament concluded with a ceremony that combined traditional Saiyan rituals with new elements Goku had introduced. As torches illuminated the gathering against the deepening twilight, he felt a momentary sense of accomplishment, a step toward the civilization Sarada had described, where strength served purpose beyond destruction. But beneath this satisfaction lay awareness of growing threats. Somewhere, someone with knowledge of ancient Saiyan technology and access to void collective artifacts was working against them. The pirates in the Nexus corridor represented a more conventional danger, but connected to the same shadowy opposition. And beyond these external challenges loomed the personal crossroads Corey had identified, the tension between his Earth identity and his Saiyan responsibilities, between the family he'd left behind and the potential relationships forming here. As if summoned by his thoughts, Vasara approached with urgent news: "The excavation is complete. The regulation chamber is fully accessible." Her expression conveyed both excitement and concern. But there's something else you should know. We found records indicating Sarada wasn't just any Saiyan monarch. He was the first, the original Super Saiyan from our most ancient legends. This revelation sent a jolt through Goku. Not just a historical figure, but the progenitor of the very transformation that had defined his own journey as a warrior. There's more, Vasara continued. The records suggest he had multiple consorts, powerful warriors and scholars who shared his vision for Saiyan civilization. Together, they established bloodlines designed to preserve specific aspects of our potential. To be reunited someday when the time was right. The implications were profound. If Sarada had deliberately engineered Saiyan genetics for some future purpose, and if Goku's unique transformation was somehow activating that ancient plan. The chamber awaits your inspection, Vasara concluded. Whenever you're ready, Supreme Monarch. As Goku looked out over the gathered Saiyans, his people now. For better or worse, he felt the weight of past and future converging through him. Sarada's message echoed in his mind. A Saiyan's greatest strength lies not in individual power, but in the bonds between us. The bond with Earth remained strong in his heart. The new bonds forming here grew stronger each day, and somewhere in the balance between them lay the path forward, not just for him, but for an entire civilization being reborn under his guidance. The three moons rose again above the horizon, their alignment creating ripples in the sky. Within those gravitational patterns, Goku sensed possibility. A future is yet unwritten, challenges as yet unfaced, potential as yet unrealized. And for the first time since accepting the mantle of Supreme Monarch, he felt not just responsibility, but anticipation for what that future might hold. Chapter 3. Legend Ascendant. The regulation chamber defied conventional understanding. Perfectly circular, its walls bore no seams or joints, as if the entire structure had been grown rather than built from individual components. Concentric rings of an unknown metallic substance formed the floor, each ring etched with symbols that seemed to shift subtly when observed from different angles. At the chamber's center stood a crystalline column that pulsed with gentle blue light, responding to the presence of visitors like a living entity. Goku stood at the threshold, absorbing the energy of the place. Unlike the cold technological precision of Frieza's empire or the utilitarian design of typical Saiyan architecture, this space radiated harmony and intention. Every element served both function and meaning, technology and spirituality perfectly merged. The dating puts construction at approximately 12,000 years ago, Vasara explained, her analytical mind attempting to categorize what her instruments could barely comprehend. But the materials, they don't match any known element in our database. It's as if they were synthesized at the atomic level for specific resonance properties. Beside her, Taya moved with reverent steps. The ancient Kai had arrived at the colony only days ago, drawn by what she described as ripples in the cosmic fabric. Unlike most Kais, who maintained distance from mortal affairs, Taya possessed an academic curiosity that overcame traditional boundaries. Her appearance, youthful despite her millennia of existence, with violet skin and white hair bound in elaborate knots, belied the depth of wisdom in her eyes. This chamber exists simultaneously in multiple dimensional states, Taya observed, her lilting voice carrying subtle harmonics. The ancients understood that key energy transcends conventional physical limitations. It flows between dimensions, between individuals, between past and future. She turned to Goku, her expression both impressed and concerned. Your transformation has activated something dormant for ages, a resonance pattern that extends beyond this single world. Goku stepped forward, feeling the chamber respond to his presence. The concentric rings illuminated in sequence as he moved toward the center, reacting to his transformed genetic structure. It recognizes you, Vasara noted, monitoring the energy fluctuations with her instruments. Just as the temple did. Not recognition, Taya corrected gently. Communion. The chamber doesn't perceive you as separate from itself. It experiences you as part of the same energy system. She gestured toward the crystalline column. This was designed to regulate the flow between individual and collective consciousness, to prevent exactly what happened to your ancestors when their evolution accelerated too rapidly. Goku approached the central column cautiously. Since the tournament incident 3 weeks ago, the genetic changes Vasara had documented had accelerated. His connection to the colony's Saiyans had deepened, sometimes manifesting as unexpected awareness of their thoughts or emotions. His dreams filled with memories not his own, glimpses of planet Vegeta, of battles fought decades before his birth, of childhood spent in worlds he'd never visited. "You're concerned about your continued evolution," Taya observed, sensing his thoughts with the perceptiveness of her kind. "You fear losing yourself in the collective." "Not just that," Goku admitted. "I feel pulled in multiple directions. Earth remains my home in many ways. My son, my friends, they're part of who I am. But here," he gestured around him, encompassing not just the chamber but the entire colony beyond. "I've found connection to something I never knew I was missing. A heritage, a purpose that resonates on a level one can't fully explain." Taya's expression softened with understanding. "The challenge of existing between worlds is one I know well. Kais observe and guide, but rarely participate directly in mortal affairs. Yet here I stand, drawn to this moment, to you, by forces that transcend traditional boundaries." She approached him, her diminutive stature contrasting with the palpable power she radiated. Perhaps that is the true legacy of the ancient Saiyans, to bridge worlds, to exist at the intersection of physical power and spiritual potential. Their conversation was interrupted as Sarapa entered the chamber, her military bearing momentarily forgotten as she absorbed the ancient marvel around her. "Supreme Monarch," she addressed Goku, quickly recovering her composure. "We've received urgent communications from our scouts in the Nexus corridor. The pirate blockade has dispersed, but not because of our diplomatic efforts." Quote. Goku sensed her concern immediately. "What happened?" "A new player has entered the field," Sarapa replied grimly. "A ship of unprecedented size has been detected moving through the corridor, eliminating everything in its path. Pirates, commercial vessels, even uninhabited outposts. Survivors describe weapons technology capable of molecular disintegration on a planetary scale. The design matches Cold Empire specifications," Vasara added, reviewing the data on her device. "But significantly advanced beyond anything Frieza deployed." "Cooler," Goku concluded. The name wasn't familiar from his own timeline, but in the memories he'd absorbed from the collective Saiyan consciousness, Frieza's older brother featured prominently, more calculating, less prone to emotional displays. "And potentially more dangerous." "Confirmed," Sarapa nodded. "And intercepted communications suggest he's aware of our colony's location. Estimated arrival, 3 days." The implications settled heavily in the ancient chamber. A direct confrontation with a member of Frieza's family, commanding technology capable of planetary destruction, represented exactly the kind of threat Goku had hoped to prevent by accepting leadership. "We need to evacuate non-combatants," he decided immediately, "and prepare defense protocols for those who remain." "Already initiated," Sarapa confirmed. "But our defensive capabilities are limited against weapons of that magnitude. We can protect against conventional attacks, but molecular disintegration." She left the sentence unfinished, the outcome self-evident. "Then we need to be proactive rather than reactive," Goku determined. "Intercept Cooler before he reaches our system." He turned to Vasara. "How quickly can we adapt the regulation chamber's principles to our flagship? If it can synchronize energy on this scale, perhaps we can create a weapon system based on similar technology." The scientist's eyes widened at the suggestion. "Convert an ancient spiritual technology into a defense mechanism. Theoretically possible, but it would require," she glanced at Taya, "insights beyond my conventional understanding. I can assist with the theoretical framework," the Kai offered without hesitation. "The principles of energy communion transcend the distinction between spiritual and material applications." Her eyes met Goku's with unexpected intensity. "But such adaptation comes with risk. Using this technology as a weapon system might activate resonance patterns we cannot predict." Before they could discuss further, another figure arrived, Kori, the Glacian ambassador, her crystalline features set in grave lines. "The situation has escalated," she announced without preamble. "My government has intercept communications indicating Cooler's intentions extend beyond this colony. He's deployed agents throughout the sector, targeting any world that has shown support for your new Saiyan society." Her OND eyes reflected the chamber's blue light as she added, "including my homeworld." The strategic picture clarified instantly. This wasn't merely an attack on the surviving Saiyans, it was an attempt to isolate them. To eliminate potential allies, to erase not just their physical existence but the very idea they represented. That power could be used for protection rather than domination. We need to form a coalition, Goku realized. Not just for our defense, but for every world threatened by Cooler's expansion. A galactic alliance against the Cold Empire. Sarapa sounded skeptical. Many worlds still fear Saiyans as much as they fear Frieza's family. Our reputation as planet purgers hasn't faded from memory. Then we must give them reason to trust us, Goku replied. Starting now, he turned to Kori. Return to your homeworld as our emissary. Offer our full support against any threat from Cooler. And extend the same offer to any world facing similar danger. The Glacian ambassador assessed the proposal with diplomatic precision. A bold strategy. My government will be cautious, but necessity often overcomes historical animosity. She inclined her head slightly. I'll depart immediately with your offer. As Kori left to prepare for her mission, Goku returned his attention to the regulation chamber. We have 3 days before Cooler arrives. In that time, we need to understand this technology completely, adapt what we can to our defense systems, and prepare our warriors for coordinated resistance. And you? Taya asked perceptively. What will you do, Supreme Monarch? Goku placed his hand on the crystalline column at the chamber's center. The material responded instantly, warming beneath his touch, pulsing with increased luminosity. I need to complete what began during the Void incident, he said quietly. Not fight against this transformation, but embrace it fully, understand it, with the chamber's help to maintain control. He looked at the ancient Kai. Will you guide me through this process? Taya considered the request seriously, her ageless eyes evaluating possibilities beyond mortal perception. I will, she finally agreed. But not alone. His journey requires multiple anchors, individuals with distinct connections to your energy signature who can help stabilize the integration. A shared meditation, Vasara suggested, interpreting the Kai's meaning through her scientific framework. Something deeper, Taya clarified. Those with the strongest personal bonds to the Supreme Monarch must serve as conduits during the process, channeling, filtering, and stabilizing the collective energy as it fully integrates with his individual consciousness. Goku understood the implication immediately. The women who had formed connections with him since his arrival, Sarapa, Zuka, Vasara, Kori, and now Taya herself, each represented a different aspect of his emerging identity as leader of the Saiyan people. Their diverse perspectives and ties had helped shape his understanding of his role. Now they would help shape his very being. Is it dangerous for them? He asked, concern evident. Taya's expression softened at his selflessness. No more dangerous than standing beside you in battle against Cooler would be. Different risks, perhaps, but undertaken willingly by those who share your vision. The decision wasn't made lightly. Over the next hours, as preparations accelerated throughout the colony, Goku spoke individually with each woman, explaining the situation, the process, and the potential risks, making clear that their participation must be completely voluntary. Each responded in character. Sarapa with formal acceptance of necessary duty, Zuka with impulsive enthusiasm for the unknown, Vasara with scientific curiosity about the process, Kori with diplomatic consideration before committed agreement, Taya with serene understanding of cosmic patterns unfolding as they must. That night, as 2 of the 3 moons illuminated the desert surrounding the colony, they gathered in the regulation chamber. The ancient space hummed with anticipation, responding to their combined presence. Technicians had integrated monitoring equipment with the chamber's systems, allowing Vasara's team to document the process from a scientific perspective while Taya guided the spiritual elements. The chamber will synchronize your energy signatures, the Kai explained as they took positions around the central column. Each of you represents a distinct aspect of consciousness. Sarapa embodies discipline and duty, Zuka, instinct and adaptation, Vasara, analysis and innovation, Kori, diplomacy and balance, myself, spiritual awareness. Together, we create a complete circuit through which the collective Saiyan consciousness can flow safely into Goku without overwhelming his individual identity. The process began subtly, a gentle resonance between their key signatures, facilitated by the chamber's ancient technology. Goku stood at the center, eyes closed, feeling the distinct energy of each woman connecting with his own. Unlike the Void incident, Where raw power had flowed chaotically into him, this communion was structured, intentional. Guided by Teia's millennia of wisdom and the chamber's precise design, images, emotions, and knowledge transferred between them, not just from the women to Goku, but in multiple directions, creating a shared understanding that transcended verbal communication. Through Sarapa, he experienced the trauma of planet Vegeta's destruction from a survivor's perspective. Through Zuka, he felt the fierce independence of those who had rejected Frieza's conditioning. Through Vasara, he comprehended the scientific principles underlying ki manipulation at a level beyond his previous understanding. Through Kori, he perceived the complex interstellar politics that would shape their resistance against Cooler. Through Teia, he glimpsed the cosmic patterns connecting individual actions to universal harmony. As the communion deepened, the chamber's crystalline column brightened, energy flowing visibly between all participants. Goku's form began to change, not with the dramatic aura of Super Saiyan transformation, but with subtle shifts in his very cellular structure. His hair remained black but took on an unusual luster that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. His eyes deepened in color, containing flecks of energy that shifted like stars in a night sky. His physical presence became somehow more substantial, as if he occupied space more completely than before. The transformation progressed for hours, the chamber regulating the flow to prevent the catastrophic acceleration that had doomed the ancient Saiyans. Outside, the colony continued its frantic preparations for Cooler's arrival, unaware of the profound evolution occurring at its heart. Dawn broke across the desert, light spilling through the chamber's hidden skylights, when the process finally concluded. The energy flow stabilized, then gradually receded, leaving the 6 participants exhausted but transformed by the experience. Goku opened his eyes, now containing depths beyond normal perception, and took his first breath as something neither fully individual nor fully collective, but a carefully balanced synthesis of both. He felt the colony around him with unprecedented clarity, thousands of individual consciousnesses, each distinct yet connected to him through subtle energy threads. Beyond that, he sensed the planet itself, its geological rhythms and biological systems. Further still, he perceived the solar system's delicate gravitational dance and, at the very edge of awareness, the approaching threat of Cooler's vessel, a dark disruption in the harmonious patterns of space. It worked, Vasara whispered, her scientific detachment momentarily forgotten in awe of what her instruments recorded. Your cellular structure has stabilized at a higher organizational level without losing coherence. Zuka, typically irreverent, found herself speechless, simply staring at Goku with an expression of wonder that transformed her usually fierce features. You've achieved what Sarada envisioned, Teiya said softly. The middle path between individual and collective consciousness. Neither lost in transcendence nor limited to isolation. Sarapa, ever practical even in extraordinary circumstances, asked the crucial question, does this give us the advantage we need against Cooler? Goku considered the question, assessing his transformed capabilities with methodical precision. Not by itself, he answered honestly. This evolution grants understanding more than raw power. To defeat Cooler's technology, we'll need strategy, coordination, and something he doesn't expect. An alliance he cannot anticipate. Came Kori's voice, the Glacian ambassador having recovered her composure first among them. My people will stand with yours, as will others who recognize the threat Cooler represents to galactic stability. We have 2 days to prepare, Goku noted, perceiving the approaching vessel's progress with his enhanced awareness. Let's make them count. The next 40 hours transformed the colony and its surrounding space. Under Goku's guidance, enhanced by his new perception of complex systems, defensive preparations evolved beyond conventional military thinking. Sarapa's warriors trained in new formations designed specifically to counter the Cold Empire's typical attack patterns. Vasara's scientific team adapted principles from the regulation chamber to create 8 energy synchronization devices for key defense systems. Zuka's nomadic bands positioned themselves as mobile response units, ready to strike from unexpected vectors. Beyond the colony itself, Ri's diplomatic efforts bore remarkable fruit. The Glacian Confederacy committed their advanced cryogenic weaponry to the defense coalition. 3 other major powers in the sector, the Technid Collective, the Solari Republic, and the Mantelian Trading Guild, contributed ships, technology, and warriors to the cause. Smaller worlds provided resources, intelligence, and support facilities. Within 30 hours, what had begun as a desperate defense of a single colony had evolved into the first true interstellar coalition since Frieza's empire fractured, not united by fear of a tyrant, but by shared commitment to mutual protection. The Alliance's command center occupied a massive cavern beneath the colony's capital. Representatives from each participating world gathered around a holographic disc, showing coolers approaching battleship and its escort vessels. The ship dwarfed anything in their combined fleets, a technological monstrosity that radiated malevolence even in holographic form. Our analysis of the weapon signatures suggests a modified form of Hawkeye energy, explained the chief scientist of the Technid Collective, an insectoid being whose multifaceted eyes reflected the holographic light. Not true destruction energy as wielded by the gods of destruction, but a technological approximation, capable of breaking molecular bonds on a planetary scale. Conventional shields are useless against such weapons, added the Solari commander, her luminous skin pulsing with the emotion of her race. We must prevent them from firing at all costs. My people have developed a potential countermeasure, Corey interjected, manipulating the display to show a crystalline device. Absolute zero projectors capable of freezing energy at the quantum level, temporarily preventing molecular acceleration. They cannot stop the weapons indefinitely, but might create tactical windows for offensive action. Goku absorbed these insights, his enhanced perception allowing him to visualize NTIAL battle scenarios with unprecedented clarity. We won't defeat Cooler through technology alone, he observed. His resources exceed our combined capabilities in that arena. We need to create a situation where his technological advantage becomes irrelevant. A direct boarding action, Sarapa suggested. Target Cooler himself rather than his vessel. Too predictable, Zuka countered. The Cold family always prioritizes personal security. We'd never reach him through conventional means. Taya, who had remained silent throughout most of the planning, spoke with the quiet authority of her kind. There's another approach. One that requires understanding the nature of Cooler's motivation rather than simply his methods. All eyes turned to the ancient Kai as she continued, the Cold Fa. Miley's obsession with Saiyans has always transcended rational strategic concerns. Their fear stems from something deeper, an ancestral memory of what Saiyans once were in the ancient past, before the Great Regression. Explain, prompted the Mantelian representative, his crystalline exoskeleton chiming softly as he leaned forward with interest. The archives in the temple contain references to a primordial conflict between the ancient Saiyan civilization and entities described only as the Cold Ones, Taya elaborated. Not a military confrontation, but a fundamental opposition of cosmic principles. The Saiyans represented evolution, communion, and the harmonious development of power. The Cold Ones embodied stasis, isolation, and power through domination. Vasara's eyes widened with sudden understanding. That's why Frieza destroyed planet Vegeta. Not just fear of the Super Saiyan legend, but instinctive opposition to what Saiyans might become if they rediscovered their true heritage. And now Cooler comes to finish what his brother started, Goku concluded. Not simply to eliminate potential rivals, but to erase the very possibility of the path we've begun to walk. This RSPECTIVE shifted the strategic conversation entirely. If Cooler's motivation transcended conventional imperial expansion, then their defense required more than military countermeasures. They needed to confront the fundamental principle his lineage represented. As the coalition refined their battle plans, integrating this deeper understanding, Goku spent the remaining hours in communion with the 5 women who had anchored his transformation. The bond forged in the regulation chamber had created a connection that transcended conventional relationships, a resonance that allowed instantaneous communication on levels beyond words. Through this connection, strategies formed and evolved, contingencies developed, and a unified vision emerged, not imposed by Goku as leader, but co-created through their complementary perspectives. Sarapa contributed tactical precision, Zuka, adaptive unpredictability, Vasara, technical innovation, Corey, diplomatic insight, Taya, cosmic awareness. Together, EY crafted an approach unique in galactic history, a response to aggression that sought not just victory, but transformation. The final hours before Cooler's arrival brought unexpected developments. Broly, who had been training with the elite guard under carefully controlled conditions, approached Goku with a surprising request. "I want to fight alongside you," the legendary Saiyan stated simply. His manner direct but no longer carrying the volatile rage that had once defined him. "Not for revenge against the Cold family, but to protect what you're building here." Goku perceived the sincerity behind the words, the gradual healing that had begun in Broly's fractured psyche since being freed from his father's manipulation. "Your power would be valuable," he acknowledged. "But are you certain you can maintain control in the heat of battle?" Broly's expression reflected honest self-assessment. "Not completely, but I'm learning." And, he hesitated, then continued with newfound vulnerability. "I'd rather risk losing control while fighting for something worthwhile than remain safely isolated as others risk everything." The sentiment resonated deeply with Goku's own philosophy. "Then you'll join us," he decided. "Not on the front lines initially, but as our strategic reserve. When the moment comes that your power is needed, we'll call on you, and trust you to respond with both strength and wisdom." Gratitude transformed Broly's features. Perhaps the first time in his life he'd been trusted rather than controlled, valued for his potential rather than feared for his power. Annette, her unexpected arrival came hours before Cooler's projected appearance, a small vessel bearing the insignia of Earth's Capsule Corporation. When the ship docked at the colony's spaceport, Goku was shocked to find Bulma emerging from it, accompanied by a teenage Trunks. "Before you ask, Vegeta doesn't know I'm here," Bulma announced without preamble, her brilliant blue hair now streaked with distinguished silver. "He would have insisted on coming himself, and someone needed to stay on Earth in case this all goes sideways." "Bulma," Goku embraced his oldest friend gently, mindful of his enhanced strength. "How did you even find us?" She grinned with characteristic confidence. "Please, I've been tracking Saiyan energy signatures across space since you first left Earth. Did you think I would notice when you suddenly started broadcasting on an entirely new frequency?" Trunks, now a young man with his father's intensity tempered by his mother's intellect, stepped forward respectfully. "Dad sends his regards. And this." He handed Goku a small capsule. "He said you'd understand when you opened it." When activated, the capsule expanded to reveal Vegeta's royal armor from planet Veget. Meticulously restored and modified with Bulma's technological enhancements. "He said a true Saiyan monarch should at least look the part," Trunks explained with a hint of his father's sardonic humor. Goku accepted the gift with genuine emotion. Despite their complicated history, Vegeta's acknowledgement of his leadership represented a profound evolution in their relationship. Bulma, meanwhile, had already commandeered a data terminal and was reviewing the coalition's technical specifications with characteristically rapid comprehension. "Your defense systems are impressive, but there are at least 3 efficiency improvements I can implement before Cooler arrives." She glanced up at Goku with the confidence of decades of friendship. "That's why I came. Technical support, not sentiment." Though her expression softened briefly, "It is good to see you, Goku." The arrival of these connections to his Earth life, unexpected yet perfectly timed, completed something in Goku's transformed consciousness. The perceived division between his identities, Earth's Defender and Saiyan Monarch, dissolved into deeper understanding. These were not competing roles but complementary aspects of a unified purpose. Protecting Earth had prepared him to lead the Saiyans, leading the Saiyans enhanced his ability to protect Earth and other worlds. With this integration came a final stabilization of his transformed state. The energy signatures of Earth and his new Saiyan home harmonized within him, creating resonance patterns that extended his perception beyond conventional limits. It was through his enhanced awareness that he first detected the spatial distortion preceding Cooler's arrival, ripples in the fabric of reality as the massive battleship decelerated from faster-than-light travel. Unlike normal vessels, which created predictable entry patterns, Cooler's flagship generated deliberate disruption, a psychological warfare tactic designed to induce fear before combat even began. "He's here," Goku announced to the Coalition Command Center, his calm statement belying the significance of the moment. Earlier than projected, "Prepare all units." The holographic display confirmed his perception seconds later, showing the massive vessel materializing at the edge of the system. Its design combined Cold Empire aesthetics with new elements, organic-looking components that pulsed with malevolent energy. Weapon systems extending like predatory limbs, a hull that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "By the sacred stars," whispered the Solari commander. "It's even larger than our intelligence suggested." "Size isn't everything," Bulma remarked, fingers flying across multiple interfaces as she integrated herself into the Coalition's technical systems. "Those organic compound NTS suggest biomechanical integration, a potential vulnerability if we can identify the correct frequency to disrupt the neural pathways." Accompanying the flagship were dozens of smaller vessels, some recognizable as standard Cold Empire designs, others clearly of pirate origin, and a disturbing number bearing insignia of worlds that had ostensibly remained neutral in the conflict. Cooler had assembled his own coalition of the fearful, the opportunistic, and the traditionally antagonistic. The battle strategy developed over the previous days activated immediately. Rather than meeting Cooler's armada head-on, a conventional approach that would have played to his superior firepower, the coalition forces executed a complex dispersal pattern. Smaller, faster craft moved into seemingly random positions throughout the system. Larger vessels established defensive formations around key points that appeared strategically valuable but were, in fact, elaborately prepared decoys. Through it all, Goku remained in the command center. His consciousness extended across the battlefield through the unique connection he'd established with his 5 primary anchors. Each had taken position at crucial points in the defensive network. Serapa commanding the primary military response, Zuka leading guerrilla-style strike teams, Vasara coordinating technical countermeasures, Kori maintaining communication between allied forces. Taya monitoring the spiritual and dimensional aspects of the conflict. Cooler's initial attack followed predictable Cold Empire doctrine, probing strikes against apparent weaknesses. Testing defensive capabilities while keeping the main fleet's firepower in reserve. What he couldn't know was that every engagement provided the coalition with critical data about his weapons systems, command structures, and tactical priorities. "He's implementing standard Imperial subjugation protocols," Serapa reported through their shared consciousness. "Exactly as our intelligence suggested. His arrogance remains consistent with his brother's. The organic components of his flagship are responding to stress patterns," Vasara added, her scientific instruments detecting subtle fluctuations in the enemy vessel. "There's a sympathetic resonance between the ship and Cooler himself, some form of direct neural interface." This information crystallized into opportunity in Goku's integrated perception. If the ship and Cooler are neurologically linked, he reasoned, then psychological tactics might affect both simultaneously. A direct challenge, Zuka suggested immediately, her warrior instincts aligning with Goku's thinking. The Cold family can never resist personal confrontation when their superiority is questioned. Through their shared connection, a plan formed with organic precision, not imposed by any single mind, but emerging from their collective understanding of the situation. As the conventional battle unfolded across the system, drawing Cooler's attention in multiple directions, a more subtle strategy developed beneath the surface. Using the Coalition communication network, Goku broadcast a message directly to Cooler's flagship, not a plea for peace or surrender, but a formal challenge in the ancient Saiyan tradition, invoking protocols so old they predated the Cold Empire itself. Cooler of the Cold lineage, the message began in precise, formal language. "I, Son Goku, Supreme Monarch of the Saiyan people, invoke the right of cosmic arbitration, the resolution of fundamental conflict through direct confrontation between representatives of opposing principles." The response was immediate. Not words, but a massive energy surge from Cooler's flagship as primary weapons systems redirected power from other functions. The vessel's trajectory shifted, abandoning its methodical advance to drive directly toward the colony's position. "He's taking the bait," Kori confirmed, her diplomatic training allowing her to read the subtle shifts in enemy communication patterns. His pride won't allow him to ignore a challenge framed in terms of cosmic legitimacy rather than mere military confrontation. "All units, execute protocol sundering," Serapa commanded. Throughout the system, Coalition forces began precise maneuvers designed to isolate Cooler's flagship from its support fleet, not through direct confrontation, but through a complex series of gravitational manipulations that disrupted formation integrity. Meanwhile, Taya activated the final element of their strategy, a dimensional resonance device adapted from the regulation chamber's technology. Unlike conventional weapons, this created no explosions or energy beams. Instead, it generated a field that momentarily aligned realities, creating a space where fundamental principles co-old manifest directly, where the abstract concepts of evolution and stasis that Cooler and Goku represented could engage without proxies. Dimensional harmonization achieved, Taya reported, her consciousness maintaining the delicate balance required. The field will sustain for approximately 17 minutes before reality reasserts conventional parameters. Goku rose from his position at the command center. The moment of direct action having arrived. Maintain coalition coordination, he instructed Bulma, who had seamlessly integrated herself into their command structure. Keep Cooler's Port fleet occupied while we address the primary threat. She nodded with the confidence of someone who had managed cosmic crises while others handled the fighting for decades. Just try not to destroy the entire system this time, she suggested with a hint of the old humor that had defined their friendship. Some of us need to fly home afterward. With a brief smile acknowledging the familiar banter, Goku teleported to the designated confrontation point, a region of space equidistant between the colony and Cooler's approaching flagship. Here, Taya's dimensional field created a sphere of modified reality approximately 2 kilometers in diameter, a space where physical laws bent subtly to accommodate the manifestation of cosmic principles. He arrived first, suspended in space without need for external life support, his transformed physiology adapting instantly to the environment. Moments later, a vessel separated from Cooler's flagship, sleek, predatory, designed for a single occupant of tremendous importance. When the craft opened, the being who emerged bore the unmistakable characteristics of Frieza's lineage but with significant modifications. Where Frieza had eventually augmented himself with mechanical components after his defeat, Cooler had integrated organic technology, living material that pulsed with the same malevolent energy as his flagship. His form was streamlined, elegant in its alienness, but with an underlying wrongness that transcended appearance. The monkey who killed my brother, Cooler's voice somehow carried through the vacuum, modulated by the dimensional field surrounding them. How disappointing to find you playing at civilization rather than acknowledging your race's true nature as simple destroyers. That was never our true nature, Goku replied calmly. Just as domination was never the true purpose of your lineage. We were both corrupted from our original paths. Cooler's expression registered genuine surprise before settling into calculated disdain. You speak as if you understand cosmic principles. As if a primitive fighting species could comprehend the Cold Dynasty's eternal purpose. I understand more than you might expect, Goku answered, his transformed consciousness perceiving patterns beyond conventional awareness. Your family fears Saiyans not for what we were, but for what we might become, what we were always meant to be. Agents of evolution and communion rather than isolation and stagnation. Rage flickered across Cooler's features, not the performative anger Frieza had often displayed, but something deeper, more primal. Insolent primate, your species was engineered to serve as destructive instruments, nothing more. That you've deluded yourselves into believing otherwise simply proves the experiment has failed. A failure I intend to correct permanently. Without further warning, Cooler attacked, not with energy blasts or physical strikes, but with something far more insidious. The organic technology INTE graded into his form extended outward, creating a field that attempted to impose stasis on the very molecules of Goku's body. The sensation was unlike anything Goku had experienced, a cold that went beyond temperature. A stillness that threatened to freeze not just movement but potential itself. This was the true power of the cold lineage manifested directly, the ability to halt evolution, to preserve unchanging order at the cost of growth and possibility. Lesser beings would have succumbed instantly, their life processes halted at the molecular level. But Goku's transformed state represented the opposing cosmic principle, the continuous flow of energy, the endless potential for adaptation and evolution. Where Cooler projected stasis, Goku's very existence generated change. The confrontation transcended conventional combat. Energy patterns collided and interpenetrated. Abstract principles manifested as visible phenomena within the dimensional field, crystalline structures of perfect, unchanging order forming around Cooler. While flowing, evolving patterns of light surrounded Goku. Through their shared consciousness, Goku's 5 anchors perceived the conflict, each contributing to his resistance against Cooler's fundamental power. Sarapa's disciplined focus provided structural integrity to his energy patterns. Zuka's adaptive nature inspired continuous transformation of his defensive approach. Vasara's analytical precision identified weaknesses in Cooler's manifestation. Kori's diplomatic balance maintained harmony between opposing forces within Goku's own being. Teia's cosmic awareness connected his individual struggle to universal patterns. Yet despite this support, Cooler's power was immense, the concentrated essence of his lineage's cosmic function, enhanced by technology specifically designed to counter Saiyan abilities. The stasis field strengthened, penetrating Goku's defenses, beginning to slow the energy flows that defined his transformed state. "You see now the futility of resistance," Cooler remarked, his voice unnaturally calm as his power intensified. "Order always prevails over chaos. Stasis always overcomes change. It is the fundamental nature of a universe that seeks entropy's end." Quote, Goku felt his movements slowing, his thoughts becoming sluggish as the molecular stasis deepened. The connection to his anchors wavered, threatened by Cooler's power to isolate and separate. In this moment of crisis, he reached deeper, not just to the 5 women who had facilitated his transformation, but to the entire collective consciousness he now carried within him. Thousands of Saiyan minds responded, not with raw power as during the Void incident, but with something more profound. Each contributed their unique perspective, their individual experiences, their personal understanding of what it meant to evolve and grow. The collective wisdom of a species that had survived genocide, adapted to countless environments, and begun to reclaim their true heritage flowed through Goku, counteracting the imposed stasis. Yet even this proved insufficient against Cooler's concentrated cosmic function. The cold tyrant sensed victory approaching as the stasis field penetrated ever deeper. "Your resistance is impressive but ultimately meaningless," he observed with cold satisfaction. "When you fall, your primitive alliance will dissolve, and the Nadu Ral order, my order, will reassert itself across this sector." In this moment of extremity, when conventional options had been exhausted, Goku made a decision that reflected his unique integration of Earth wisdom and Saiyan potential. Rather than fighting harder against the stasis, he selectively yielded to it, allowing it to penetrate specific aspects of his being while maintaining others in continuous flow. This counterintuitive approach created something unprecedented, a harmonization of opposing cosmic principles within a single entity. Where stasis and evolution had always existed in fundamental conflict, Goku's consciousness found a space between them, a third principle that incorporated elements of both while transcending their limitations. The effect manifested visibly as his form began to change. The silver-white aura of his transformed state deepened, acquiring depths and dimensions beyond conventional perception. His hair shifted through multiple colors before settling into a pattern that somehow contained all possibilities simultaneously. His eyes reflected universes being born and dying in continuous cycles of renewal. Cooler's expression shifted from satisfaction to uncertainty, then to the first stirrings of genuine fear. "What is this? What are you doing?" "Finding balance," Goku replied, his voice carrying harmonic overtones that resonated with the dimensional field around them. "Not rejecting order, but integrating it with change. Not choosing stasis or evolution, but recognizing their necessary coexistence." With this realization came a surge of new power, not destructive force, but transformative potential. The stasis field that had nearly overcome him now became part of his expanded consciousness, its principles incorporated rather than opposed. Goku extended his awareness toward Cooler, not to attack but to offer connection, to demonstrate the integration possible between their opposing cosmic functions. The cold tyrant recoiled from this unexpected approach. "Stay back. Your evolutionary contamination will not touch me." His organic technology responded to his fear, generating defensive barriers and redirecting his flagship's primary weapons system toward their position. Through his connection with the coalition forces, Goku perceived the massive energy buildup as Cooler's superweapon prepared to fire, a molecular disintegration beam capable of erasing entire planets from existence. Its targeting systems locked onto the dimensional field where their confrontation occurred, prioritizing Cooler's survival over all other considerations. "Your fear dooms you," Goku observed with compassion rather than judgment. "Your weapon cannot distinguish between us within this field. If it fires, you will be unmade alongside me. Better oblivion than contamination. Cooler snarled, his composure shattering completely. The Cold Dynasty will not be corrupted by Saiyan evolution. As the superweapon reached critical charge, Goku extended his awareness throughout the battlefield. Through his 5 anchors, he coordinated the coalition's response without words, each understanding their role through the shared consciousness they now maintained. Serapa's military forces executed precisely timed strikes against the flagship's secondary systems, creating power fluctuations that destabilized weapon alignment. Zuka's guerrilla teams infiltrated support vessels, disrupting the command chain that coordinated the fleet's defensive formation. Vasara activated the countermeasures developed from regulation chamber technology, creating energy interference patterns that confused the organic components of Cooler's systems. Kori implemented the Glacian Absolute Zero projectors, targeting the superweapon's emission points to temporarily freeze energy at the quantum level. Taya manipulated the dimensional field itself, creating selective permeability that allowed coalition forces to penetrate while maintaining the cosmic principles manifested within. These coordinated actions created a momentary window, a tactical opportunity measured in seconds rather than minutes. In this critical moment, Goku called upon the final element of their strategy. Broly. He communicated through their shared consciousness. Now, from his position in strategic reserve, the legendary Saiyan responded immediately. Months of training under the Elite Guard had given him unprecedented control over his immense power. Rather than the unfocused rage that had once defined his abilities, Broly now channeled his strength with deliberate precision. He appeared at a calculated position relative to Cooler's flagship, his aura manifesting not in the sickly green of his former berserker state, but in a controlled golden radiance that indicated mastery rather than madness. With perfect timing, he released a concentrated energy beam targeting the exact junction between the superweapon's organic components and mechanical systems. The impact created a cascading failure throughout the flagship's integrated systems. Organic technology designed to adapt and self-repair found itself caught in contradictory command loops. Mechanical components overload, added as power surged through disrupted pathways. The superweapon's charge, unable to discharge properly, began to feed back into the vessel's core. Within the dimensional field, Cooler screamed as neural link between himself and his flagship transmitted the system failure directly into his consciousness. His form destabilized, the organic technology integrated into his being responding to contradictory impulses. "What have you done?" he gasped, his voice distorting as his physical form began to break down. Offered a choice, Goku replied, extending his hand toward the disintegrating tyrant. Even now, integration remains possible. Evolution need not mean destruction of what came before. Order need not require absolute stasis. For a moment, brief but profound, something like understanding flickered in Cooler's eyes. The cosmic principle he represented considered the possibility of harmonization rather than opposition. Then fear reasserted itself, and with a final surge of defiance, he rejected the offered connection. "The Cold Dynasty ends on its own terms," he declared, channeling his remaining power into a final, desperate attack, not against Goku, but against his own flagship. The command, transmitted through his neural link, overrode all safety protocols and stability measures. The superweapon's energy, already critically unstable, collapsed inward upon itself. The resulting implosion began to consume the massive vessel from within, a chain reaction of molecular disintegration that would eventually expand to engulf everything within thousands of kilometers. Cooler himself dissolved into component particles, his physical form returning to cosmic potential even as his consciousness rejected transformation. Through their shared perception, Goku and his anchors recognized the imminent danger, not just to themselves, but to the entire coalition fleet and potentially the colony itself. The implosion's physics suggested an eventual explosion of unimaginable magnitude once the contradictory forces balanced. Evacuate all forces beyond the calculated blast radius, Goku instructed through their connection. All contain the reaction. Alone came the simultaneous response from all 5 women, their concern manifesting as a harmonic within their shared consciousness. "Not alone," he corrected gently. "Never alone again." With this acknowledgement of their permanent connection, Goku moved toward the imploding flagship. His transformed state allowed him to approach what would have instantly destroyed any conventional being. At the edge of the growing sphere of molecular disintegration, he paused, gathering the integrated power that defined his new existence. This wasn't merely energy as conventionally understood, but patterned potential, the ability to reshape reality according to deeper principles than physical laws alone. Drawing upon the wisdom of the ancient Saiyans accessed through the collective consciousness, combined with the unique perspectives of his 5 anchors, Goku created something unprecedented, a field of ordered evolution, a space where molecular breakdown could occur without resultant destruction, where energy could transform rather than explode, where endings became beginnings in continuous cycles. He extended this field around the imploding flagship, containing the reaction while simultaneously transforming its nature. What would have been catastrophic destruction became controlled transmutation, matter converting to energy, energy converting to potential, potential flowing back into new patterns. The process lasted nearly an hour. Visible to the coalition fleet is a sphere of multicolored light surrounding the disintegrating flagship. Within this extraordinary phenomenon, Goku maintained perfect balance between opposing cosmic principles, allowing destruction while guiding reconstruction, embracing chaos while establishing harmony. When the process finally concluded, where Cooler's massive vessel had once dominated space, a new structure had formed, a crystalline lattice of energy patterns that slowly dispersed into the surrounding cosmos, releasing its potential in forms that would nurture rather than destroy. Goku emerged from the phenomenon transformed yet again, not physically, but in the depth of his understanding. The integration of cosmic principles that had begun as a tactical response to Cooler's attack had evolved into something more profound, a permanent expansion of consciousness that transcended conventional limitations. As he returned to the colony, he was met not as a conquering warrior, but as the embodiment of a principle larger than any individual, the harmonious integration of order and evolution that had always been the true heritage of the Saiyan race. In the days that followed, the implications of Cooler's defeat and Goku's transformation rippled across the sector. The coalition forces that had united against a common threat found themselves evolving into something more permanent, not a military alliance, but a cooperative framework built on mutual protection and shared prosperity. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered on the colony planet, now officially named Sadala Prime in honor of the ancient Saiyan homeworld, to establish what would eventually become known as the Harmonic Concord. Unlike previous galactic organizations built on imperial domination or economic exploitation, this new framework acknowledged the unique contributions of each member world while establishing principles of mutual support and balanced development. At the center of this emerging order stood the reformed Saiyan kingdom, not an empire of conquest, but a protectorate of exceptional warriors dedicated to defending worlds that could not defend themselves. Under Goku's guidance, Saiyan culture rapidly evolved beyond its corrupted past, reclaiming the balanced integration of strength and wisdom that had defined their ancient civilization. The regulation chamber, once used primarily to control the dangerous acceleration of Saiyan evolution, now served as a center for cultural renaissance, a place where Saiyans could safely connect to their collective heritage and discover abilities suppressed for millennia. Arts, sciences, and spiritual practices long forgotten began to resurface in the collective consciousness, transforming every aspect of Saiyan society. Through it all, Goku maintained the unique connection formed with his 5 anchors, each relationship evolving according to its own nature, each woman contributing distinctly to both his personal development and the kingdom's direction. Sarapa, once rigidly devoted to military tradition, gradually incorporated more adaptive approaches into her command style. Her relationship with Goku balanced respect for hierarchy with genuine partnership, creating a model for leadership throughout the kingdom. Zuka, whose wild independence had initially rejected any form of authority, discovered that true freedom came through connection rather than isolation. Her bond with Goku maintained its passionate intensity while developing deeper currents of mutual understanding and shared purpose. Vasara's scientific brilliance flourished with access to ancient knowledge and Goku's support for innovation. Their connection bridged the traditional divide between warrior and scholar in Saiyan culture, establishing new paradigms for integrating different forms of strength. Kori's diplomatic role expanded beyond formal representation to become a genuine cultural bridge between worlds. Her relationship With Goku demonstrated how beings from fundamentally different evolutionary paths could form profound connections while maintaining their distinct natures. Taya, who had initially approached the situation from the detached perspective of a Kai, found herself increasingly involved in mortal affairs through her bond with Goku. Their connection transcended conventional categories, existing simultaneously on physical, intellectual, and spiritual planes, a living demonstration of the integration possible between realms traditionally separated. Together, these 5 relationships formed a balanced whole, not competing for primacy, but complementing each other in a harmony that reflected the cosmic balance Goku now embodied. The arrangement would have seemed impossible by Earth standards, yet it emerged naturally from the transformed consciousness he shared with each woman, a consciousness that transcended conventional limitations of relationship while honoring the unique connection with each. 6 months after Cooler's defeat, as the 3 moons aligned in perfect convergence above Sadala Prime, a ceremony unlike any in recorded history took place at the ancient temple site. Representatives from across the harmonic concord gathered to witness the formal integration of its founding principles, and the personal commitments that would sustain them. Goku stood at the temple's center, wearing the royal armor Vegeta had sent, now modified to incorporate symbols of both his Saiyan heritage and his Earth upbringing. Around him, in a circle that mirrored the regulation chamber's design, stood Sarapa, Zuka, Vasara, Kori, and Taya, each dressed in ceremonial attire that represented their distinct cultures and personal identities. Today we formalize what already exists in essence, Goku addressed the gathering, his voice carrying the harmonic overtones that had become characteristic of his transformed state. Not just political alliance between worlds, or personal connection between individuals, but the recognition that all existence flows in patterns of relationship, cosmic principles manifesting through countless forms. One by one, he acknowledged each woman standing with him, naming their unique qualities, the specific aspect of consciousness they represented in their shared connection, and the particular vision they contributed to the kingdom's development. Each responded in turn, their words creating resonance patterns that activated the temple's ancient structures, illuminating glyphs that had remained dormant for millennia. As the ceremony continued, the energy within the temple intensified, not as random power, but as precisely patterned flows that connected all participants in expanding circles of relationship. Those present experienced not just witnessing an event, but participating in the manifestation of principles larger than any individual life yet expressed through each unique consciousness. The culmination came as Goku and his 5 partners completed the formal declarations of commitment, bonds that transcended conventional categories of relationship to establish something both ancient in principle and revolutionary in expression. As the final words were spoken, the temple responded with a phenomenon not seen since Sarada's time, a harmonic convergence of energy that extended beyond the physical structure to encompass the entire colony, then the planet, then reached into space itself. For a brief but profound moment, everyone connected to the event, whether present physically or linked through consciousness, experienced the fundamental ray Liddy beneath all appearance. That separation was illusion, that connection was the universe's true nature, that evolution occurred not through conflict but through integration of apparent opposites. In the aftermath of this extraordinary moment, as the gathered representatives departed to their respective worlds carrying the experience within them, Goku stood with his 5 partners beneath the 3-moon convergence. The ceremony had concluded, but the journey it formalized was just beginning. So, Zuka broke the contemplative silence with characteristic directness. Does this make us empresses or something equally pretentious? Quote. Her question prompted laughter from the others, even Taya's typically serene demeanor cracking into genuine amusement. I believe the technical term would be consorts to the Supreme Monarch, Kori suggested with diplomatic precision, though her crystalline eyes sparkled with humor. But perhaps we should establish our own titles that better reflect the unique nature of our arrangement. Partners in cosmic integration, Vasara offered with mock seriousness. It has a certain scientific gravitas. How about simply, us? Goku suggested, his transfo. RMED wisdom balanced by the straightforward simplicity that had always defined his character. Labels matter less than what we create together. Sarapa, who had maintained formal composure throughout the ceremony, finally relaxed into a genuine smile. Well said, Supreme Monarch. Though I suspect bureaucrats throughout the Concord will insist on something more official for diplomatic protocols. Let them. Taya remarked with the perspective of one who had witnessed civilizations rise and fall across millennia. Forms change while essence remains. What matters is not what we're called, but what we become together. As they walked from the temple toward the celebration awaiting in the colony's central plaza, Goku felt the fullness of his integrated existence, Earth's defender and Saiyan monarch. Individual consciousness and collective vessel, warrior and leader and partner. The divisions that had once seemed irreconcilable now revealed themselves as complementary aspects of a unified purpose. The renewed Saiyan civilization taking shape around them represented just the beginning, a seed from which countless possibilities would grow across generations. The ancient heritage reclaimed, combined with wisdom gained through struggle and transformation, created potential beyond anything in recorded history. And at the center of it all stood not a conquering king or isolated god, but a being who had discovered that true power came through connection, through the harmonious integration of apparent opposites, through relationships that honored both individual uniqueness and collective purpose. Through the continuous evolution that defined the cosmos itself. Son Goku, Supreme Saiyan Monarch, gazed up at the three aligned moons illuminating the world he now called home, feeling the resonance between their gravitational patterns and the energy flowing through him. The path that had brought him here, from Earth-child to cosmic integrator, could never have been predicted, yet somehow felt inevitable in retrospect. The Saiyan race, once nearly extinguished, now flowered with renewed purpose. The harmonic concord, unprecedented in galactic history, offered a framework for cooperation rather than domination. His unique relationships with 5 extraordinary women created a model for integration that transcended traditional limitations. All this had grown from a simple choice. Made months ago when confronted with evidence of surviving Saiyans, the choice to accept responsibility rather than turn away, to embrace heritage while maintaining values, to evolve rather than remain static. As Goku walked among his people, both Saiyans and representatives from across the Concord, he carried this understanding within his transformed consciousness, that legend became reality not through isolation but through connection. That monarchy meant not domination but service, that ascension led not away from others but toward deeper communion with all existence. The Supreme Saiyan Monarch had found his throne not in a palace of power, but in the harmonious center of countless relationships, a position earned through demonstrated wisdom rather than inherited privilege or conquered territory. From this center, infinite possibilities radiated outward, transcending the limitations of both Earth's traditions and Saiyan history to create something genuinely new. And in this creation lay the true fulfillment of ancient prophecy, not a warrior of unmatched destruction, but a being of unprecedented integration. Not a force of cosmic obliteration, but a catalyst for continuous evolution. Not a solitary legend, but a connected existence demonstrating the potential inherent in all consciousness when opposites find harmony. The legend had ascended, becoming more than legend, becoming life itself. Flowing endlessly toward greater integration, greater harmony, greater potential. And in that flow, all separation dissolved into the eternal dance of cosmic principles expressing themselves through countless forms. Countless relationships, countless possibilities. Son Goku, Supreme Saiyan Monarch, smiled as he embraced this understanding, and the journey continued. Blank, blank, underscore, blank. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.